But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat Earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Sven P, Curved Fart, Pablo de la Cruz, Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survived the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name Spurley, J Mels 24, U Lamento, Iron 26, Retro Bill, John Case, Patrick Gunnels, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon will be below this video. But with that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. You talking to me?
That wasn't the regular link. I didn't see the picture or nothing.
You're here, so
yeah, it was
maybe
just a
works
hyperlink.
okay. Something wrong?
No, I just didn't know what it was, so I clicked on it, and I clicked on it 7 minutes after you freaking shared it. 'Cause I didn't know what the hell it was.
Okay then. Well, at least it works. Hello, Len.
Thought you were playing another video to reprimand us again.
Reprimand you? I haven't reprimanded you. What are you talking about?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah, just a little joke. Because she posted a video right after I posted something, so just a little joke.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You posted that video with the drunken cop, right?
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. He goes up and he knocks the window, but the window's not there, so he knocks the guy's face. He says, "Could you roll down the window, please?" Very funny.
Somebody was saying that's the voice of Darth Maul. Is that true?
The voice of Darth Maul?
Yeah, that's what it said in the comments. It's
I don't
actually the voice of Darth Maul.
I don't know. I'm not into Star Wars. Sorry.
That is funny, though. He's knocking on his head. Did he call him a woman or something? He said, "Ma'am," right?
Yeah, he says, "Can you step out, please, madam?"
I'm a police officer, man.
He says, "Yeah, you know the police?" He's like, "Yeah." He says, "I work for them."
You're drunk.
Anyway, it's a beautiful day. We went and fed the ducks, geese and swans at our park, which is an exceptional park. There's one of the guys called Auditing Britain who goes around moaning about various different towns and showing the crap that's going on in the country. You know the type, auditors. Anyway, he likes Leamington. So Craig was pointing out to me, he's like, this guy likes the town we live in. Oh, yeah. So I look him up on YouTube, and he's wandering around in the park talking about how fantastic the town is. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's lovely living here. So today, I said to the kids, we've got this half-stale loaf, because my mother-in-law gave us a loaf. And I'm like, should we go and feed it to the ducks? Because we've eaten half it and the rest stale, or going stale. And they were like, yeah, let's go and feed the ducks. So I hack up this loaf and we take it to the park, and we're standing on the Elephant's Causeway, it's called, where elephants that used to roam around in this particular town. One guy owned elephants, as you do. You used to walk them down to the river to bathe on this cobbled causeway, Elephant's Causeway. And we walk down there, feed a couple of ducks, and then go across this big, beautiful bridge that's got a waterfall beneath it. Absolutely spectacular looking. Looks down the river. And then we feed the geese from there, and they swim from quite some distance because they saw us. They knew exactly what we were there for. And then we went into the park and we're feeding the ducks and the swans, right? And it's just beautiful. It's really, really nice. I'm looking up, blue skies. And then when we were finished, we get in the car, and I said, "Oh, do you want to drive up the parade to the girls?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's drive up the parade." I was like, "Do you want the windows open and the music on?" They're like, "Yeah." So we're driving up the parade. I'm like, my God, life is so awesome, because the town's looking really nice. It's got blue skies outside, got music blaring, and although it's 25 years old, we're in a sports car. It's like a crap old, very knackered sports car, but it happens to be working today. There's no lights on the dashboard, and we've got music blaring out the windows, kids singing along. I'm like, life is so awesome. And Clover was like, yeah, life is absolutely awesome, isn't it? Eleanor was like, yeah, life's so ace. We went to an art gallery, and we're in the middle of the park. They've got a greenhouse. It's a bit more than that. It's quite elaborate. And next to it, it's got a little room that people use for functions, and it says free art gallery or something like that, for a free art exhibition. So we wander around, and there's just, I don't know, 3 or 4 local artists that have just presented their very, very nice work in, to flog it. It's all got several £100 or dollars for you on each item, and you can see why, because they're all really, really high standard. And just a nice little opportunity. See, they're standing there with this artist next to his work going, "So why aren't your kids in school?" I'm like, "Oh, we homeschool them." "Oh, wonderful. What are you doing today?" And I'm like, looking at them both, and Clover's like, "Gymnastics." And suddenly she's into this little chit chat with an artist while I'm turning my back on them, looking at these pieces of art. And Eleanor's very into her art, so she was keen to look at it all and assess her, give her feelings on which were good and which weren't, which she did. She's only a kid, so she's doing it, not quite appreciating that the artist stood right next to it. She's assessing them, but just, I don't know, good fun.
It's the little things, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's like I say, living in Leamington Spa is the town I live in, and it is exceptional in terms of its prettiness, how friendly it is, how low the crime was. Although when I've brought that up to Craig in years gone by, when we've been going for curries, it's been a few years now, right? He's quick to point out, well, actually, it's not as good as it was, because I moved here 25 years ago, and I've still got the rose-tinted glasses of all the statistics. So one of the schools up the road from me used to be an exceptional school, and is now considered not so exceptional. I'm like, but in my mind, it's just the same school as I looked at when I transitioned from a different town. I'm like, oh, it's got really good schools. They're all really well rated. For when I was even back then thinking about, I'll end up having kids in this town. So yeah, I don't know. I really like where I live. Very pretty, very nice. Park's beautiful, town's beautiful, it's well kept. Nice. Yeah, Auditing Britain is the guy I was talking about. Like I say, when he was wandering around the same park, he was just stopping random strangers and chatting to them about the park. And he happens to chat to some guy, and he's like, "Beautiful park," and the guy's like, "Yes, it is." And he's like, "I like coming to Leamington," the Auditing Britain guy goes. And then the guy who he's talking to says, "Yes, this park was gifted to the people by X person." I think he names the park's name. It's Jefferson Gardens. So I assume he's talking about Mr. Jefferson. And he's explaining this to the random stranger that's filming him. Just suddenly gives him a little history lesson on the park. I'm like, yeah, that's Leamington. That's about right. Suddenly the guy you're talking to about how nice the park is knows exactly how nice it is, because he's been there so many years that he knows a little bit about it. Anyway.
Yeah, AB's quite funny. He's quite dry. But when he gets stopped off the police, if they're asking for ID, he'll show them this bloody Asgard bloody ID. He just takes a piss.
Oh, okay. I've not been watching him very long. Like I say, I only started watching him a couple of weeks ago because Craig had suggested that he liked Leamington. Well, I'll go and have a look.
I've seen him for years. Basically, just like filming police stations and that, and coppers that don't realise that you're allowed to film in public will try and make an issue. And he's been arrested for trumped up charges loads of times and won a bunch of court case for years now.
Yeah, he started harassing one of the people that had arrested him, so he saw him, and he's like, you know, you're on YouTube now. Everyone thinks you're a wanker. This is right up in this policeman's face that's presumably had him for filming or whatever he's done that's not illegal. So he's now back up in his face calling him Baldy and stuff. And I was quite tickled by it. I'm like, well, you're just an antagonist. But people love that, don't they? Like, you're sticking it to the man. And now, don't get me wrong, while I laugh, I'm like, it's just a copper doing his job. Now, some cops are good, some coppers are bad. You know, but one that's got it wrong about the filming laws and ended up being hauled over the YouTube goals, you kind of laugh. But by the same token, you think, it's just some copper doing his job, right? And don't get me wrong, there's also that 5% of coppers that are complete bastards. But that's true in absolutely any field ever. There's always that small percentage of bastards. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes.
I've been saying that for years. There's good and bad in every occupation.
In people, you know, you've got whatever it would be, 5% of the Western population is narcissists, and they're the ones that tend to rise to the top and, you know, have advantageous behaviour because they're quite content to screw over next man. That's how narcissists rise to the top. They'll do it off the backs and achievements of others, but people aren't necessarily as fastidious in terms of verifying information that's been stolen from other people's personality, other people's achievements, other people's traits. And if you're in a hurry and someone just tells you, most people are quite trusting, so, you know, just making up a false personality and persona, stealing it from half a dozen other people, you know, having the right story to tell about an achievement that you didn't really achieve, is how a lot of narcissists end up in positions of power. And they're not concerned about getting caught. They're not in the slightest bit concerned about lying. It's totally indifferent to them. And who gets hurt in the process is irrelevant to them. They lack empathy. You know what I mean? They seek out people who have those traits because they're easily exploited. But that's, you know, they're making up the population. Therefore, it's based on how many people you'll encounter. You know, 1 in 20 will be like that. That's just how it is. But that could be in the police force, the criminal justice courts. It could be in your average farm, your average boring-ass office. It doesn't matter. Every walk of life will have that sort of statistic in the Western world.
That's correct. I used to say, well, you got good and bad cops, good and bad lawyers, good and bad school teachers, good and bad Well, let's leave the politicians out of this one.
I saw something today that intrigued me. It was a lawyer on YouTube, like a DUI type lawyer, and he was explaining this case where some guy goes in to get his tyres rotated, and after he drives off, he gets on the highway and a wheel comes off, causes an accident, and this lawyer has to take it to court. And he explains that in certain circumstances, when the case is obvious, that is to say it requires no explanation. There's a Latin for it, res ipsa loquitur, I think is correct. There's a it speaks for itself doctrine in legal precedents that's been set that says, you know, in this case the tyres were rotated and the tyres came off. You know, does it need to have loads of explanation about, you know, who did what and why it had a failing? You know, you don't need to be explaining that, you know, it was this particular technician at this particular moment when he didn't put the nuts on or didn't tighten them down. Whatever the case may be, you know, it went in to have tyre rotation, then the wheels came off. It speaks for itself, right? Res ipsa loquitur, I think, was the Latin phrase that they use. They like their Latin in law. But what it made me think was this idea that something can, as he phrased it, speak for itself. You go, there are certain things that we say are ipso facto is the term we use. You're like, something that is as it is, something that is claimed to speak for itself, can be taken advantage of, because in the most literal sense, things don't speak for themselves. What I mean, a mile has only been capable of being hijacked by globe believers because its principle speaks for itself. Res ipsa loquitur. It speaks for itself in terms of what a mile is. And because of that ipso facto nature of a mile, and the fact that no one will speak for it, no one will point out its linear horizontality when applied to Earth measurement, it has the opposite effect. It does not speak for itself. It is taken, another legal terminology, as read, taken as though you've read the context, understood it, and it is moved on from without necessarily being put into verbiage. You haven't actually had to speak it out to the court. It's taken as read. You've read it, it's as it's written down, it doesn't need to be spoken, it's taken as read. But then it doesn't speak for itself. Nobody's mentioning how flat the mile is. Therefore, you have a position where a ball-centric notion can utilise flat Earth prerequisites. Me trying to figure out how have they used flat Earth prerequisites and got away without anybody noticing, because everybody utilises these principles as though they speak for themselves, because they are what they are, because ipso facto it is just flat. But if nobody says that, it can go without saying. And because you're not saying it, you don't notice when you're using it flat, in the case of the mile. Make sense?
No, because I still don't see how they didn't put it together, because everybody thinks they live on a globe. So just because they're not saying it, how does it go without saying? Maybe I'm missing something.
Can you say Earth curve resides at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and then you state the distance to horizon in miles? Then the miles don't jump off the page and go, "Excuse me, you do realise that I'm horizontal and linear, right?" The miles cannot speak for themselves, can they? They're just a tool taken as read in terms of what they are, and they're not, in the most literal sense, speaking for themselves. They're not telling you. The same goes for the altitude. It doesn't go, "Excuse me, you do realise that being in upward orientation or vertical vector, I must be perpendicular to a plane axiomatically. You do realise you need a flat Earth for me?" But altitude doesn't speak for itself in that regard. It does require somebody to point it out. Yes, axiomatically, it can only be perpendicular to a plane, but just saying height doesn't have that axiom highlighted to the person utilising it. Ergo, you can utilize horizontal and vertical in flat earth derivation by measurement format without anybody recognizing that this axiomatic principle is violated after use. The mile doesn't jump off the page and say, you shouldn't be using me because you can't, I'm flat. To suggest this mathematics violates me, the mile that you're using, and must be capable of description by way of measurement applicable to the surface if you want this to all stack up as though you know a distance to the horizon. The distance, well, that's flat. But the mile doesn't do anything. It doesn't speak for itself. It's the opposite of this principle in legal terms, where you have a conception that is alleged to speak for itself. The tyres came off the car because the man who put the tyres on didn't tighten the nuts down. It speaks for itself. If he had, the tyres wouldn't have come off the car. So, res ipsa loquitur, or loquitur, that is to say, it speaks for itself. Well, miles do not speak for themselves when it comes to their horizontality and their principal directionality and flatness when it comes to their application when it comes to Earth measurement.
So they got a voice now, though.
I mean, they don't need a voice when they're put into practical application, which is something I think we've already been highlighting. You know, a mile doesn't need you to represent it as being flat. It's axiomatically tied to what it is when you use it. So
Yeah, but the
wouldn't
people
matter
that don't know, now they're hearing it. So basically, we're giving it a voice. Where now you're not going to skip by it, not noticing it. When you have people over here, explaining what a mile is, even though it needs no explanation, but it does, because they think you want a globe. So it does need an explanation, does need a voice, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm not explaining it right.
No, you're saying it does require people to have the axiom pointed out to them. Otherwise, they can go about their day using it and then applying it to something that's completely violating it. Earth curve mathematics, in terms of its assertion of distance, requires you have measurements of the surface to apply those miles or kilometres to the surface. It goes without saying that you want the mile to represent a linear distance. That's what it is. That's what miles are. And if you're suggesting I've got a distance to infer, well, how do we know the distance is correct? Well, we'll have to take a point in the distance that we know from A to B, how far it is, and verify it using the axioms of horizontality and linearity with miles or kilometres. So I can say that that's where the geometric horizon with a ground that's bending should be. No, because the mile can't stand up for itself and go, excuse me, to know this distance. That sort of invalidates what you're trying to use me for, you bastards.
Yeah, I got it now. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a slow wheel turn in here. But,
and it's happening daily.
yeah, for sure.
Is that Liam in the house? What is up with you?
How are you, Neil?
I'm waiting for the football game to start today. And when I say football, I mean soccer.
Oh, is that tonight? Who's that?
That's afternoon for me. Perfect time. Show's over, 2 p.m. Central Time, Liverpool. Liam got me into this crap. Blame him.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I completely switched off. Sorry.
Talking about the Premier League soccer. It was
Football,
Liam that
Nathan.
got me
Your
into it.
favourite thing?
The Premier League. Do you mean the Premier League?
Yeah, Premier League. What am I saying? Oh,
Premier League.
Prem.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my. That was my father-in-law's name. Prem.
Not Premier. It's not the Premier League. It's the Premier League.
Yeah, the Premier League.
No, you're just not saying it right. I don't care because I don't care about football, but I do care about English to a certain extent.
Technically, it's the Premier League. PRE is pre.
Not Premier either. It's Premier. The Premier
Listen.
League.
I am American. I know English.
Or US English. It's not the same.
Is that funny when people try to correct you on what English should be? I get a kick out of that all the time. But I don't understand why the color is spelled OUR. Why are you confusing people? Why is pharmacy with a PH, Philip with a PH? Why?
Just remember, it's grass, not grass.
Speaking of grass, if I can't get in touch with this freaking guy today, I'm gonna get a freaking ticket on my front door. It's got to be at least 8 inches high. Not the grass, the weeds that grow between the grass.
Okay.
But that was good, Nathan. You got to keep pushing it. Then people will be able to digest it. The fact that the mild don't have a voice.
It does. It's a really little squeaky voice. Oh, you bastard. Don't be using me for Earth, Kev.
Yeah, I got a message for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad we had this conversation.
Hurry up with the darn book.
Didn't hear that. Say that again.
The message is tell Nathan to hurry up with the darn book. That in his hands. It told him.
I am in very little hurry, right? It's not like I'm suddenly going to go bankrupt in the next month. You know what I mean? Yes, I'm poor, but I've scraped by for long enough to not be too concerned, and I'm doing things. I sent the publicist, I keep calling him publisher, a horizontal image of a cover, another variation of something I've sent him multiple times in different formats and different aspects and different DPIs, and occasionally they're right and occasionally they're wrong. But, you know, I sent him a horizontal one today. I'm sure he'll let me know if it's wrong. Yeah, things are still happening.
Yeah, but you know when people want something, Nathan.
Yeah,
They really don't want to hear about all of that.
and I can taste it, right? But I'm done being stressed about worrying about it coming out. I'm like, it'll come out when it comes out, and if it was out today, it wouldn't necessarily. We'd still have the same show, other than I'd have the ability to say it's available. There's a link below, but beyond that, nothing really is going to change initially. It might, it's got to show, like anything, growth over a period of time. So it's how much effort I'm prepared to put into promoting it once it does come out. And don't get me wrong, I get that there's going to be a number of people that are very keen to get it initially because they're excited, and I'm grateful that's the case, that there's a bit of buzz in lieu of its release. So, you know, I'm pleased. I'm not going to knock anybody who's excited. They should be. It's going to be good. It's a very good book. But by the same token, I don't want to get overly stressed about it. It is imminent. It's days away. I just don't know how many exactly. But, you know, in a matter of days, I'll just make an announcement that it's available. People will start downloading it. So, but until that point, it's like, why fret?
Yeah, I think that individual was just joking, you know, but in a way, is he joking?
Yeah, people want it,
Right.
and I get it. They want it. It's good. It's a good book. People will enjoy reading it. And I think that was something that was of a high priority to my wife when she started helping. She's like, the first words out of her mouth were, if I was to pick this up, right, I need to read the very first sentence or two and be intrigued to want to keep reading it. And each time I get to the end of a chapter or whatever, if I'm reading it half an hour a night or an hour a night before bed, whatever, I need to get to the end of a point having pushed the amount of time that I'll be reading it 5 or 10 minutes beyond what I was hoping. That is to say, I'll just do half an hour reading, and then 35, 40 minutes in, you're like, oh, I should really get to the end. I just finish off this chapter. In other words, you're putting it down going, I've read a bit more than I was anticipating because I wanted to find out what the end of this particular chapter had in store. But also, I want to pick it back up and read it again. So how much it offers in terms of readability sort of depends on keeping it balanced in terms of how much there is about events, how much there is about people, how much there is about high-flying ideas, which they will be to people who don't know what the subject entails when it comes to flat Earth and flat earthing. You know, there's going to be a shock in terms of people's general expectation, because people are going to assume that it's kind of, is this a joke, or, you know, surely we know already. You know the mindset of somebody who's coming through this to this topic fresh. They might not necessarily be even skeptical. They're just like a little bit intrigued. So I've written it in a manner that will keep people reading it, actually wanting to read the whole of it, like you want to get to the end of a movie to find the conclusion. It's been presented in that sort of way, even though it's a very factually dense book. It's, you know, hopefully going to still keep people wanting to actually read it as a book, as a form of entertainment. You know, something that they're wanting to pursue when it gets to bedtime or when they're sat on the bog. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
That will take a bit of reputation building. Like, that'll take a bit of word of mouth and people saying, I really enjoyed this particular book about flat Earth. I actually would recommend you read it. Go and download it. And if you're prepared to put your neck out and tell somebody to do that, then it's been well produced, it's been well written, it's been well received, and therefore will hopefully be recommended. That's my overall desire. If it's going to reach normies, it's going to be because the people in the close proximity to it who are keen read it and go, I can recommend this to Auntie Susan, and tell her to download it and show her, yeah, just, you know how to download something, just pay your 10 quid and download this book from this particular website, just read this particular book. And, you know, there's literature that's out there already that you wouldn't necessarily recommend to your Auntie Susan. Nobody's recommending Rowbotham's book to somebody as a step into flirting. I can't imagine that being the case. Maybe people have recommended it, but, you know, only in a context that somebody's heavily into the flat Earth endeavour already. By the time they're being introduced to Rowbotham, I don't know, maybe newbie be introduced by Parallax or something, but I doubt it. But that's what I want it to be. That's what I want my book to be. I want you to be able to say, yes, having read it, I will definitely recommend this to Auntie Sharon, and I think she'll read it and enjoy reading it also.
How are you?
Very well, Neil. How are you?
everything is roses. I mean, at least it was for you, right? Feeding the duck and the geese in a beautiful country.
So the audience is aware what we're talking about. I was mentioning that I took my daughters to the park today and fed geese and ducks and swans. It was lovely. Very nice. Leamington's got a beautiful park called Jefferson Gardens, which is beautiful. And Auditing Britain, who's a guy who likes to antagonise the police here in this beautiful country, likes this particular town and hence was wandering around it recently. And my desire to talk about Leamington Spa a little bit more fondly is heightened on account of the fact that others who go around the country noting how crap it is everywhere like coming here because it's very pleasant in my hometown. And I would wholeheartedly agree. It's lovely in Leamington. I do like living here. And whilst blasting the music out in our 25-year-old Audi TT with the two daughters singing along to Mumford & Sons along the parade today, I had to note to both of them, life really is sweet, because it is. Yeah. Do you all live in lovely towns? I know Len lives near the seaside, admittedly up north. You all like where you live?
I live in Alabama, so we call it Sweet Home, Alabama, where skies are so blue. And I agree. It's nice, yeah.
What was the name of that band? They all died in a plane crash, right?
Leonard Skinner, not all of them, but the main guy did.
Sweet home Alabama, dum 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 dum, where the skies are so blue. Yeah, Leonard Skinner.
Sunderland's decent. Seaside town. Loads of stuff's happening for us. It's been underdeveloped for years, but loads of stuff's finally starting to happen. But I spend most of my time in Whitburn and Cleydon, like nice little affluent villages just up the coast. Beautiful. Whitburn's a beautiful little village.
Very nice.
Also voted best top 10 beaches in the country.
Really? He's got nice beaches in the UK?
Yeah, I've got some fond memories of being a child going onto some of the beaches here. Obviously, some are better than others. Some of them are all pebbly. Some of them are non-existent, just mud coastlines. Some of them are cliffs. But some of them are beautifully golden sand. And, you know, I'm going to Exmouth Beach and
Nice.
enjoying digging holes. And I'm sure I've got a picture somewhere that my parents took of me with my winky out, digging holes in the beach back in the 80s when that was tolerable.
There's something about the beach. I don't know what it is, but I grew up on a beach because my Aunt Connie owned a bungalow in the Rockaways. And that was the happening spot. That's where you had beaches from. We were on 108th Street, but it would go from the 20s all the way up to, I think, 116 was the main street. And every street would have its, entrance on a boardwalk, and it would depend on what section you went to. The rockers were in 116. The people that listened to disco music and later on in the 80s, that was section 108. All the girls, section 112. But you'd be able to walk straight down the boardwalk. I mean, if you could, or drive a bike, and all it is shore. And nothing in front of you but the Atlantic Ocean. And Rockaway Beach was no joke. You had to know how to swim. You couldn't mess around in there. You get sucked right out. But yeah, I grew up on the beaches. I loved it.
Find out what the panel is all about and where they live and if they're happy in their home circumstances. This is the people level of the show. About as lowbrow as it gets, getting to know your panel members and where they live and what they do generally, going out feeding the ducks. It's not exactly the most exciting of events, but it is the next level up. I did genuinely feed the ducks today.
We ended the housekeeping, so what are you going to do? You want to just ask the same question or make the same statement of fact for an hour?
I mean,
can anyone? No, I'm sorry. I made a mistake already. The only way you can measure Earth is flat.
I was talking about this. It seems unilaterally applicable to both show and the book that's about to come out, right? There's 3 levels: people, events, ideas. So in the pre-show, we're talking about the idea that something can speak for itself. As a concept, this is taken as read when you look at things like miles. And as a principle, that means that people who believe they're on a ball can take a concept, a notion that requires horizontality and linearity, if I could say the word, to apply when describing measurements of Earth's surface in miles or kilometres. Now, these principles don't jump off Earth curve mathematics and scream at you that they are horizontal in axiomatic principle when used for measuring Earth's surface. They're just a mile. Same goes for altitude. You're not going to get an altitude with a squeaky voice saying, if you take your distance in a vertical orientation perpendicular to a plane, you are axiomatically perpendicular to a plane. It is assumed to be taken as read. It is said to go without saying. The problem is that when you apply principles of flat Earth prerequisite and measurement to a surface that's assumed to be spherical, you ask yourself, how is it that people who have taken a violation of the base principle measurement in miles and gotten away with using them without anybody noticing? And it's because miles, altitude in this instance, do not speak for themselves. These are concepts and axioms and principles in measurement. They don't have a voice. Miles can't speak and say, oi, I'm a flat Earth prerequisite. And when you actually apply them to Earth measurement, it does go without saying that you're using them in a horizontal orientation. That to be able to derive things like squared functions for suggestions of Earth curve that violate mile measurements hasn't got the capability of the axiom or principle or the measurement, in this case miles, to stand up and be counted and go, oi, I'm flat Earth only. You're suggesting that a distance isn't in line with me as a measurement. Well, it hasn't got a voice, it's a mile. Now, these highbrow concepts and ideas have to be contrasted with people, what they do when they feed the ducks, to keep everybody interested, right? You've got to appeal at multiple levels. If you haven't got any personality, you've got nothing going on in your day-to-day life, and you just express highbrow concepts to people, most people find that snoozeworthy. You've got to mix it up. It's like a dough that's going to rise into bread. If it's not mixed, it's not going to rise. So you've got to have all of these different elements for someone to digest. Miles are a flat Earth prerequisite because I fed the ducks today. I actually got it from a lawyer. Somebody on, I can't remember the guy's name. I think he's Mike the lawyer, something like that. And he was talking about res ipsa lequiter, if I could say it correctly. Res ipsa lequiter. And it just basically means it speaks for itself. He's talking about a court case. So he's talking about a guy who goes to gets his tyres rotated, drives off, and the wheels come off and cause injury. And there's a principle in law that says, well, in certain circumstances, you don't have to prove that it was this technician with this particular bolt that failed to be torqued to this particular spec. It's like, it speaks for itself. You had the wheels rotated and then they came off. You don't have to prove anything when you're looking at negligence. It speaks for itself. And you go, that's interesting. Certain things are taken to be self-explanatory. Well, when you're using something like a measurement, it's not that it needs to have any explanation. It can only be applied, in the case of a mile, as a linear measurement. Horizontal when you're describing Earth's topography. That's just what it is. Therefore, there is no need for it to scream that from the rooftops. It would be redundant to describe it when you're putting it into practical application and measuring the surface horizontally with miles. But that means that you have a situation where ball believers will hijack this flat Earth axiom and suggest that it's applicable to a ground that's bending. Like, you're violating the base principle of the measurement, but the mile's not complaining. It doesn't speak for itself. It requires somebody to actually verbalise it. Also, I fed the swans today. And I live in a lovely town. It's really nice here. Me and my daughters were listening to music driving up the parade. Gotta have both, right? I mean, obviously, for humorous effect, I've just smashed those two things together just to make a joke. But yes, you do have to have all levels. It's not just about having a series of questions to keep the globe at bay. The globe's built with these flat Earth measurements. We're just asking ourselves in a very highbrow fashion, how is it the case that flat Earth measurements were ignored when being applied to something that violates them? How did they get away with it? The answer is miles don't speak for themselves. They are axiomatically required to be horizontal when applied in practical use for Earth surface level measurements, for mapping, charting, surveying, building, flying, sailing. All of these principles are axiomatically tied to what they are, but it doesn't mean that you can't bastardize them into a sphericity that doesn't exist beyond its own mathematics that are in violation of the base principles, the measurements in miles. It's a highbrow concept where you ask yourself, how do globers get away with using flat Earth measurements all the time? But also, you know, swans do like stale bread. Who else has got a nice town that they live in? Or have we chewed through that already?
Well, Liam hasn't been around in a while. Entertain us.
Entertain us, Liam.
I'm here to be entertained.
Yes, of course. That's why you're on the panel. To be amused.
Have you got a video to react to?
You want us to react to video? What video is it?
No, I'm asking.
Are you asking if we have? I hadn't got any plans to do anything. I'm kind of having a bit of a lazy couple of weeks. We're in that limbo period where I've not got to shout out anything. I've not got to do anything or produce anything. I've just got, this is it. This is me at the moment. This is what I do. This bit, which is very enjoyable. But I've not got any plans to react to anything, no. What's this? Screenshot. Nigel Farage has a point about migrants eating swans. Very topical. Very amusing. The migrants are eating the swans,
you didn't
say?
see any immigrants taking swans out your pool when you feed the ducks?
The swan was pecking at my feet. So the swans near us are so used to being fed stale bread that while me and my two daughters were dishing it out just a little bit to the, what they call pigeons, this swan started nipping at my feet. And it made me laugh. He was like going, hello, yeah, I'm still here. I do want that bread. I just told my daughters, you got to be careful. They can actually, nip you. And then it nipped me right on the foot. Now, I didn't know that anybody was eating them, but I'm not exactly Mr. Current Affairs. I didn't know this was a problem that had reached the dizzying heights of Nigel Farage.
Well, a lot of people are losing their pets in the States.
Got a lot of Chinese restaurants.
All the cats were disappearing and being eaten.
Again, frozen food sales are down.
I mean, cats are very tasty.
I went into a Chinese restaurant. I mean, it was a very, this neighborhood was rough. And, vacant. It was, abandoned. There was one Chinese restaurant sitting there. So I went in and I just said, I'll just buy a wonton soup. I did not eat it because that meat did not look like pork to me. And if it didn't look like pork, I was saying, this has to be cat. I just didn't touch it. So
I used to joke with Patricia Steer. Patricia Steer used to have cats. And she'd go live and I'd be in a chat. And the cats would jump across or be caught on camera, and I'd be like, "Oh, those cats look delicious." Cats, yummy.
Remember that scene in, I think it was that vampire movie, Love at First Bite, when he feeds off the drunken guy. Then he turns into a bat, and of course he's drunk, and he's flying like through a like neighborhood, and you see this black family sitting at the table, and the wife is getting on him because they got no food, and the bat flies in the house. So they're jumping around trying to get it, and the kid's like, "What is it, Daddy?" He said, "It's a chicken." No, first he said, she was saying we have no food. Then he said, "We do now." And he's trying to catch it. And they're like, "What is it?" He said, "It's a chicken. It's a black chicken." And then when the vampire gets, when he comes to, when he's a vampire again, he's drunk and he repeats it. It was funny. He's like, "I'm not even a vampire anymore. I'm a chicken. I'm a black chicken."
Bats are absolutely adorable. So they're endangered here. So you certainly can't eat them or kill them. My folks used to have bats in their loft, and they couldn't do anything about it. That was where they lived, so that was where they stayed. But every so often, one would get into the actual bit that they were in, and you'd see it hanging there. And they were just adorable. They look like really cute little mice, and I don't know, they just look really cute to me, really adorable. But sometimes, obviously, if you've got to try and get it out of the house, they'll panic and flap around like you'd expect anything that's thinking it's going to be imminent death if it gets caught. But yeah, they're really cute. Bats are incredibly cute looking. If you've seen them up close, they just look really, really cute. So yeah, talking about flat Earth prerequisites and flat Earth miles, integrating it with us as people is what makes the subject matter digestible, Neil. So from that perspective, I've been singing the praises of us not needing to actually explain any of these concepts to people. They'll still be utilised in prerequisite, axiomatically tied to horizontality and linearity. Got it there. Said it correctly. Perfect. You only need once, I can say it. Yeah, their usefulness is inherent with those principles in tow. So you can't escape them. You can utilise them to then violate them and suggest in mathematics that a surface that's been converted from the arc of a protractor you're using with horizontal angle measurements in that particular instance is capable of describing a curved surface about a position that you'll centralise and put in orbital motion. So most people haven't got the inclination to actually invest cognitively, that is, in this information and figure out what that all means. But if you just explain to them, well, miles are flat, and that's how we've measured Earth, in miles. So any measurement of Earth, in the most literal topographical sense, requires us to have a horizontal principle applied to the distances in all circumstances and without exception. Or to put it more bluntly, miles are flat, and that's how we measure Earth, in miles. No, it does not speak for itself, but if you're going to apply distance in any format, it will be horizontal. It'll be described in a direction that you'll acquire with degrees, and you'll apply azimuth 2 miles with maps based on Earth measurements in linear horizontal miles, or kilometres, or whatever concept you want to utilise. And if you're going to describe deviation, be it in terms of hills and valleys, you'll describe it from the horizontal principle in axiomatic miles that are flat. Or if you want to suggest that you've got a deviation from a measured distance, you'll describe it as a deviation from the horizontal. Ergo, horizontality must remain axiomatically parallel with eye level to derive curve from. So mathematically, you can suggest and infer that you can have a, for an ease of description, 8 inches per mile squared function applied to the surface. Well, the mile, if it could speak, would say no.
Yes. Everything you said is correct. I put that scene in Master B. I don't know if you can play it. It's only like 30 seconds. If not, watch it on your own. It's a Jamaican family that the bad into the house. Why don't you go to
So
work,
what? I help
Mom?
you study and you.
Is it? No, if it's someone else's work, I don't think I can get away with. I suppose I could go on camera and then I suppose I could just about gamble that it's a critique. Give it a go. Oops, wrong button. You want to tell us what it is, Neil? Love at first
No.
bite.
It's the black chicken scene.
Look, old man, we have nothing to eat.
We do now. Look, a chicken, a black chicken.
Very good. A black chicken. Very good, Neil. Love at first bite, black chicken scene. Right, I'll link to it, although it's presumably just some random stranger's video that they've trimmed out. But as that's what Neil gave us, that's what you're getting in the chat. Won't direct too much attention to him, but there's the link to the video we just watched.
It's actually a very funny movie.
I'm sure. So yeah, in terms of scheduling for the book, as you were asking earlier before we went live, it was anticipated that I'd sign the book off fully today. I don't think that's going to happen. There's been too many different little things that have got in the way of that being the case. So I'm skeptical that I'll get a final version to be signed off by the end of today. It will probably be done on Monday. That's my estimate. And then from there, it should only be 2 or 3 days after that that it actually comes out. So I can't see any reason why it won't come out before the end of the month.
Oh, that's good news.
I would hope so. I mean, I don't want to put that in stone. The amount of times I've said 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. But in sincerity, it is days away. But I don't want to make out like there's going to be a huge fanfare for it. It'll come out and I'll go, it's available now. Then I'll just point below and there'll be a link. So there's not going to be exactly a massive celebration of it. It's, like I say, it'll build up in terms of me going out and promoting it and more people hearing about it, word of mouth. My desire is that people read it, enjoy reading it in all sincerity, like it's a decent experience, and then they want to recommend it to someone else to buy it and read. So that's my desire. Hopefully that'll be achieved, but that takes, feedback. So once it is available, the thing that I'll be more excited about than the release is about a week to 10 days after it comes out, hearing people have gone, yes, I have read it through. It was really good. I really enjoyed reading it. That's the bit that you want to hear. Because then for every person that comes back to you and says, I really enjoyed reading it, and then they might just be saying it out of politeness, but if they give you a specific example, I really like the part about this particular person, this particular character, this particular event, this particular idea, you go, great, wonderful. Will you be recommending it to next man? That'll be my question to them. The hope being that they say, yes, I will. I'll be recommending it to my Auntie Susan. I've already done so. And according to her, she downloaded it yesterday. So yeah, that's my desire. And you don't get that immediately. So it comes out and you're like, okay, well, it's out. But then you tell a few people that it's out and they go, brilliant, I'll buy it. And then the real desire is to hear what their feedback is. And there's going to be a certain number of people that try and find themselves in it, that hear on the grapevine that they've been written about. They're like, really? And then they go and dig it out to see what they've, had talked about them. You know what I mean? Probably.
That is so vain.
Yeah, I would. If somebody was talking about me in a book, I'd want to know what they were saying.
Yeah, especially the thieves. They're going to be searching that out.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know it was about you, Nathan, because it would be about Ethan Woodley.
Yes, everyone's got fake names. Certain things have had their titles changed as well. So where something's got a very specific name to, for example, a show, I've also changed that. Not always. So there are a couple of exceptions where I've kept, show titles, or, I think at one point I referenced the BBC. I think that's such an old established thing that it's fine to actually specifically reference it. I might have changed it. I can't remember. But for the most part, anything that's identifiable as a pop culture thing or a person has had their name changed. So, for instance, occasionally I talk about a show that was prevalent a few years back in the Flat Earth community, and the show is called Sphere Bangers. So when you're reading it, you'll be like, "Oh, so you were watching Sphere Bangers, were you?" Is that right? Have I got that right? Sphere Bangers. No, that's just a show name in the book, right? Sphere Bangers. I'm not saying it incorrectly.
No, yeah, that's the name.
It is correct. Yeah, Sphere Bangers. So, I'm without saying which show that is, and it's not relevant, it's just the name of a show. Well, there is no show called Sphere Bangers, but when you read it, you're like, I think I know what this show is. Well, you might.
I think there is a film of that name in the restricted section.
In the porno section?
I wouldn't know.
Triple X section.
Yeah, that made it into one of the anecdotes. So there was a member of one of the groups I was in many years ago, Flat Earth group, and it had a couple of misfits in the group and a couple of different women in the group. And one of the women at one point said that she'd like me to look at a picture of her during her pregnancy with her daughter. So I'm like, oh yeah, fair enough. So she sends me a picture, and it's of her completely naked in this picture. My daughter's just put her hand over her mouth, horrified. You found that amusing, Eleanor? I was shocked too.
That's funny.
It wasn't. It was shocking. I'm very, very innocent, Neil.
Yeah, I'm sure you were shocked, but it's funny hearing about it.
Well, that was a lead into. That's actually like, how would you put it? Setting a scene, because that isn't the main part of that particular anecdote. there's an event that happens afterwards that's relevant to. So to sort of set the scene, I explain this about two of the characters that are being described in the different anecdotes. But so that you've got an idea of the characters and what they're like, I give that as a bit of, a bit of preamble to the interaction that these two characters have. So you've got to understand that whenever there's any characters introduced in my book, they're there for a very specific reason. So in that particular reason, without ruining the anecdote, I'm trying to explain that there's people on our side, on the Flat Earth side, that are wankers. Yeah, there's no other word to use. That's my vernacular. I'm going to use it as I mean it to be used. There's a certain number of wankers, right? And they have been put into a position where they are the ones talking about Flat Earth. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush, conspiratard, wanker, whatever word you want to use to demean, and that's what I'm doing, the type of individual that talks about Flat Earth. That's the overarching point of the anecdote. That is to say, I'm not just introducing this particular character so I can expose an amusing story about naked pictures that got shared. That's not the point. It's so that you can see why an interaction with one of the characters in the story leads to the exposure of another character in the story for me to make an overarching point about who is representing Flat Earth in a given context. So that you as a reader can go, I see, these are the types of people who talk about this subject, the subject of Flat Earth. Why? Well, because if you're going to control a narrative, you need to put players in place that are genuinely grassroots players, but of a specific variety. It's like if you want an apple tree, you don't plant begonias. You know, you're going to plant the people in a particular part of a community there so that they can be the representation. You know, you don't get that many mathematicians and surveyors and things of that sort of nature represented in the community of Flat Earth. Typically speaking, they're conspiratorial. That's the general person that comes to the forefront of this community. So like I say, I'm introducing these characters not because they've got a big character arc throughout the whole story. The only real character arc throughout the story is mine, and that's my sort of journey of discovery in the subject of Flat Earth. But part of that, or my character arc, is seeing these other individuals who have their own character arc between them and are therefore useful to make a specific point. Now that means that as you're reading it, you've got all three bits covered: an event, people, and an overarching idea. The idea that conspiratards are planted as representatives of Flat Earth. So that's amusing in terms of the aspects of the anecdotes that I've used to make these points, but that's kind of my way of making the book valuable to the person reading it. Like, they'll want to read a little bit more about that if they're halfway through and they've had their half an hour reading. I'll just read the last page of this. You know what I mean? But the overarching point that Earth's being measured flat is interwoven between all of these conceptual ideas, events, and people throughout my book. So from that perspective, I hope that when the first wave of people who get it read it, go, I think Auntie Susan would really enjoy reading this. It's not just my hope that factual stuff about Coriolis deflection and gravity and, I don't know, measuring angles from baselines that are flat, you know, this stuff is factually dense, so you've got to interweave it with stuff that's going to entice average housewife, if you like, to want to keep reading, so that the information that is important to me and the people around us here is subtly woven in with the anecdotes about people and events. So that's what I hope will entice somebody to read it as an entertainment, like just the pleasure of reading a good book, as opposed to a flat Earth book about Earth being flat, typically about how Earth's not a sphere in years gone by with other books about this subject. So from the perspective that I just think it'll be an interesting book to read about stuff that's happened in the community, because I don't think there's anybody out there that'll disagree. Over the course of the last 10 or 15 years, Flat Earth as a community is, from an outsider's perspective, quite an interesting community. It's full of interesting characters. You know, on both sides of the debate, it doesn't matter if we're looking at this instance at the wankers that I call flat earthers, or the fart-sniffing Batman t-shirt wearing dweebs. You know, their character arcs are interesting to average guy or average girl who might pick up my book in the future. So, you know, from that point of view, I think it's worth having some decent anecdotes about people and their crazy behaviour, especially when you can digest an overarching, more complex point as a result of the lowbrow dissemination of some of the anecdotes that I've got to offer in a book. Anyway. Exciting times. That's why I'm kind of less fussed about, you know, bigging it up for its release. I've got a quiet confidence that people will read it and go, I do want to recommend this. Therefore, I can, you know, I'm not just going to get this little swell of people who are waiting to get it, and then that's it. It'll be, people get it, they'll hopefully, you know, I wait for the feedback, see it as a valuable proposition to offer someone else to enjoy as they have enjoyed it. And that was difficult in terms of production, because I want to get all those different layers. There's going to be a certain aspect of boffin on both Flat Earth and Globe Earth sides that will only want to flip to the factual information and check whether or not I've got it right as the author. Things like that. But you also want to be able to, as I said earlier, offer it to housewife Jane, who's going to pick it up and read the first couple of sentences and be intrigued to carry on reading. You know, that's hopefully the trick that I've pulled off. We'll see if I've done it or not. I'll wait the feedback. We'll see. But, you know, with a bit of luck, that is what will happen. People will continue to recommend it to others because they enjoyed it, that is. we will see.
Well, it's not just a flat Earth book, right? It's a book about the show.
That's just a flat Earth book, but whether or not it's enjoyable to read just depends on how well I've written it, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you talk about the things that transpired on the show.
Yeah.
Because it's the journey, it's your journey when you started the channel, right? Through the years. It might not be chronologically correct or in order, but it's more than just a flat Earth book.
I don't know. I don't think it is. I think it's just a flat Earth book. But it's a good flat Earth book in my estimation. But obviously, I'm going to say that I'm the one who's written it. Like I say, for the now, I want to downplay it until it gets into the hands of a few discerning critics. Now, there's going to be people out there that just want to ridicule it because they don't like me or just don't like flat Earth. And that's to be expected also. You know, there's going to be people out there that just want to give it a harsh critique. But I would suggest that there's a good chance that in some instances, the people who would be like that on the opposing globe Earth side, let's be honest, are going to be intrigued to see if they're actually mentioned in the book. So they'll probably read it through, at which point you'd hope that to a certain extent they're engaged in the material, even if it's only for self-indulgent reasons. That is to say, they're reading through to see if they get a mention, which a lot of people do. Like, there's lots of characters that have come and gone through FED over the years. So yeah, there's a fair chance that he might be in there, and therefore the process of reading through and getting an idea of some of the anecdotal japery that's occurred.
Let me rephrase. It's not your typical technical only flat Earth book.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, yes, most of the flat Earth books, the thing that it's got unique, in my opinion, isn't necessarily about how it's been made into just a good book, a good read, that is. It's the fact that it's focused on Earth being measured flat, as opposed to how Earth is not spherical. And I think to date, the most prevalent rhetoric has been that Earth's not a sphere. That's been the rhetoric up until at least a couple of years ago. That was really all people ever did, debunk the globe. Now, I think that's orchestrated to be that way. That's to say, the arguments are preordained and positioned so that we have those arguments as flat earthers. Like, we're all slowly learning about heliocentrism on the tails of the fart-sniffing Batman t-shirt wearing wankers who know so much about heliocentrism that they can have gotcha moments when they expose flat earthers in name only in their lacking heliocentric understanding. So for me, it's 10 years of going, God, this is boring, to learn about heliocentric information, to then get to the end of the journey and go, everything that the flat Earth, everything that the globe Earth is based on requires Earth to be measured flat to infer it and violate its own base principles axiomatically in terms of the measurements, like I mentioned earlier with miles. I won't repeat myself. But that's a journey that leads this particular publication to be unique in that fact. Just pointing out how simplistically you can understand the argument. Another reason why I think it might be recommended to, you know, Sally, your aunt, or, you know, your Uncle Ben and his rice. Because the overarching principle being explained throughout the book, and it is throughout the book, throughout the anecdotes and throughout the globe Earth information and rhetoric, it's constantly reiterating the most simple and prevalent prerequisite, which is the flat Earth measurement that's needed in all instances. So for that reason, that is, although very, very highbrow, as digestible as understanding how people behave. You know, you've just got to interweave it for people to accept it, because it is simple, and it does get assumed to be capable of being taken as read, or you'd hear the saying, it goes without saying, right, in terms of miles and their horizontality. Well, it's only when you're applying it in a, I don't know, globe Earth calculator by explanation in my chapter on Earth curve calculators for the sake of argument. It's only when you're hearing some of those prerequisites being explained and expanded into their use for globe Earth assertions and having the highlighting element of it, you know, read by you, the reader, that you need a flat Earth for this distance that's now going to be applied in this Earth curve mathematics. only when someone actually gives the mile a voice and says, I am a flat earth prerequisite. Here I am expressing distance in an earth curve calculator. Well, like I say, the mile's not going to object even though it's being violated. But I can point out how linear and horizontal it must be for that calculation to function. Ergo, how flat earth must have been measured to use that principle to suggest it's curving mathematically after measuring it flat. Yeah, just a few more days.
You got everything in there. You got technical, and you got a good storyline. I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I know it's a good book. I'm pleased with what I've achieved, and if someone came along and went 3 stars, not very good, very average, I'd be like, that's as good as I can achieve. So I'm not going to cry about it if people don't receive it well. I'll understand that I've put my heart and soul into it and explained what I've learned over the 10 years of flirting. And some people might not like it simply because it's contradicting their bald faith, which is fine. Some people might just be too big for my own boots. I'm saying I think it's well written. You might go, that sentence made no sense. I doubt it. I've read it through enough times to understand whether or not my own rhetoric makes sense on the page, and it does as far as I'm concerned. But who am I? I've never written a book before. So you might read it and go, linguistically, this is subpar. Who knows? We'll find out when I get feedback in terms of the actual writing as well. Although that said, I have had some feedback. You guys have been there. So maybe you can butter my ego and tell me how wonderful you already think it is, having heard a few chapters being edited.
Well, the unique thing that you have that the other books don't have is how it's measured. So I think that puts yours above the rest as far as, if you want to say proof or reality goes, then you're above I haven't heard anybody talking about how Earth is measured flat from Robotham to now. I haven't seen it. They may have implied it and whistled right past it like we all did, but they didn't plant their flag there like you are. So that's a plus.
Well, that's something else that
the
people
way you
have told
tell
me
a
they
story
wanted.
is good.
People have told me that they want the bullet to almost be the silver bullet that we suggest people have asked for over the 10 years. That is to say, if you're the person recommending it, so you're the reader, you've just finished reading it, my desire would be that you go, I can give this to somebody, have them read it, and understand at the end of reading it that Earth is flat. This book will definitely offer that for next man, for all levels. So regardless of if, let's take it to the hardest of the extremes, to the globe believer. A globe believer, staunch, that's anti-flat earther, globe believer, can only read through and appreciate how axiomatically flat certain measurements they use are applied to their globe belief. Now, I even at some stage detail the rock and the hard place argument as it chronologically made sense throughout the debate, which is no longer a debate. But for the most critical level of person that might read my book, that's globe believer / anti-flat earther, they can only appreciate how flat they must and do measure Earth in prerequisite as a flat plane with linear distance or horizontal perpendicularity for altitude. Those things are set in stone and used to express a belief in a globe. At the other end of the extreme, so you've got somebody who's totally devoid of any concern about the subject, may not even appreciate that there's any subject discussion to be had. They're just a normie who's been raised to believe that there's a sky vacuum with rockets in it and that they're on a ball flying around the sun in a heliocentric model. They understand at a fundamental level that that is the world that they inhabit, but they don't have any concern about validating it or invalidating it. They're just a normie. That person will read the book and at the end go, oh, so Earth's just flat then? And I think that is the number one thing that people have expressed to me that they want the book to achieve. They want it to be something that they can pass to somebody else and go, by the time you finish reading this book, you'll know for sure and without a doubt Earth is flat. And if they do, they'll recommend it to Sally and Steve and Bob and Uncle Ben.
And Father Ted and Fireman Sam.
Father Ted gets made it to the cover. So at one point in the book, I go through the example laid out in Father Ted when he goes on holiday in a caravan. And they've got very little entertainment. And he's explaining whilst holding a toy cow to Dougal. This cow is small. The ones out there are far away. Well, on the front cover, that's what it's got. It's got a cow, or bull, in the foreground and 2 cows further away. That's what's on the front cover. Did you know that? I have shared various mock-ups in Master B while I've been doing them. Did you see them?
I haven't.
I wasn't asking you. You didn't bring up Father Ted.
Yeah, Neil, wait your turn. And no, I haven't seen.
You didn't know that I'd use that specific example.
No, but it's hardly surprising.
Yeah, I also went out and took a shot of a building. So I'm explaining this in a chapter that's explaining it with the brick example that I've used on the show many times, where there's a brick in the near foreground, and as the brick goes further and further into the distance, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you can't see it anymore at the horizon, at the diffraction limit, at the point where the optical resolution runs out. That is to say, the brick gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's too small to see. And then you build a building on top of that brick. The building, with a wider angular view, has an increased angular resolution. But the brick at the bottom is still too small to see. Against the deck, the angle is still so limited that one brick cannot be seen. That is to say, at a distance, one brick looks like it's missing, but you can still see the rest of the building. What's that I hear? Sounds a lot like Earth Curve. Yeah, when we labelled the calculations for Earth Curve, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth Curve calculator, I give an example in text, exactly as I've just given it verbally, but then I explain Father Ted's example. This cow is small, those cows are far away. So that also makes it into the text with a picture. So I took a picture of some buildings that are in the distance, quite close to me actually. If I go up high enough, I could probably see them from here. They're quite close by, just high-rise flats. But as I come back from my eldest daughter's art class, we get to see a view with, I don't know, a couple of miles between us and those flats, and they're quite small on the horizon. And obviously, you know, I'm not suggesting this is where you get perfect bottom-up obstruction, but you certainly can't resolve the bricks that are building that building. So I took that, had AI put some cows in it, and that's what visually represents that particular part of the chapter, with a picture to go along with it of those buildings in the distance viewed into Leamington from outside of Leamington, and AI superimposing some cows in there. But that also made the front cover. Anyway.
I forgot about that. That's right. That book's going to be great.
Yeah, of course it is. Summarising everything we've done on Flat Earth Debate for the
That was
last
one
10
of my
years.
favorites.
What, this brick is far away, this building is bigger than the brick that's too small to see?
Yeah, I loved it when you did it on the show because you made it very concise and you could see it in your mind, and it was very good. So, yes, I do remember you putting it in the book, and I do remember the pictures. Yeah, it's going to be really good.
Yeah. But it's little things like that you hope as you read it. This is I keep saying it, my main hope is that the people who initially buy it, so I'm talking to the people who are watching this show, right? There's going to be a small handful of people. It's not going to immediately sell thousands of copies. You know, I might be lucky to hit 100 copies in the first month. But that initial 100 people, let's just say, that buy the book, I really, really hope that 10 of them go, this is good enough to recommend to my aunt, my uncle, my niece, my nephew, my next door neighbour, whatever it is, that guy, that they're like, I really wish I had a means of just introducing this person to the subject in a way that allowed them to just read a book and understand at the end of it that Earth's flat in a digestible way that was enjoyable to read. It had enough interesting characters with interesting stories or anecdotes about what they'd done in the journey of learning that Earth is flat. So that after, if somebody was a avid reader and they spent 3 or 4 hours reading it from start to finish in one go, they'd get to the end and go, all right, it's no big deal, Earth's just flat then. And have them appreciate that that's how it's always been anyway. So it's not that big a deal. They don't need to suddenly concern themselves about it. The world's not going to stop just because they've figured out Earth's flat. But also understanding some of the psychology that goes into keeping the spherical world alive in a science category era, whilst having fart-sniffing dweebs and conspiratard, beardy pot smokers arguing about how spherical Earth is or isn't, whilst simultaneously whistling past every single flat Earth prerequisite that both use.
I'll show you somebody keeping it alive. I'm going to read something from chat. You tell me about it. I wonder if the Line project in Saudi Arabia, 100-mile-long structure, let me repeat that, 100-mile-long structure, I wonder if it will have a curved roof or a curved floor. That was a joke, laugh out loud, but...
The assertion is that it's 100 miles. 100 miles is a linear horizontal distance measurement.
That's correct.
Yeah, buildings get levelled. And they're levelled and then described in terms of their distance in measurement format with miles that are flat and horizontal. Now, what direction's the building facing? You're going to just give it us in a degree in an azimuth from north? You know what I mean? Everything about the question relies upon Earth's axiomatic flat Earth measuring principles, in this case miles.
What are the coordinates of the building in latitude?
Yeah. Give us a few elevation angle measurements to stars converted into grid positions in a Cartesian reference so that we can know exactly where it is. Yeah, again,
oh dear,
everybody whistles past these flat Earth prerequisites, coordinates, directionalities, measurements of miles. How has it happened? You can't not see the code once the matrix has been made aware to you. The code is then incapable of being switched off. Doesn't matter what anybody says. All you ever hear is the flat Earth prerequisites. It's all I see in comments now. And a few people have tried to say things like, all Nathan ever does is respond, well, that's a flat Earth measurement. So somebody did this in comments a couple of days ago, and that comment came in, I've been waiting for a while for this to be the circumstance. Somebody puts out their bull blurb. Somebody else underneath says, all Nathan ever does is suggest that Earth's measured flat. And then underneath, I just got to write 2 words. It is. Because the examples were above in miles, distance, altitude, and you're like, there's nothing for me to say anymore. Our opponents, so-called, they're not. They're also using these flat Earth measurements. They've always been using them. They can't get away from them. So the only rebuttal, it's not, is to say, well, all Nathan will do is tell you how flat it's measured. Well, it is. What do you want? You've used them. We all use them.
Just going back to you talk about the book and hoping somebody might read it in a 3-hour stint and think, well, I get it, Elliot. It's always been measured flat. But I don't know if you've covered this in the book, and this isn't to sound negative. I suppose even if somebody does read it, what's the thing they always say after that? Even if they understand it, well, why would they lie? And I don't know if you've got.
No, I don't think I've covered that at all in the book. Not once.
Because we don't know, do we? But
who are they? Because the map makers and the cartographers and the builders, the guys levelling out 100 miles in a linear distance measurement, these people aren't lying. They're measuring it flat. So in terms of whether or not I cover why would they lie, that's a a crazy rebuttal that makes no sense in response. Why would who lie? What are they lying about? When I'm pointing out how it's measured flat, who's lying exactly? The people who apply Earth curve mathematics, Kepler, Huygens, they only had a very simple task in terms of trying to explain better why we have the motions of the lights in the sky. That was their task. The fact that that's now turned into a worldview in violation of the base principle angle measurements and distances is irrelevant. They're not here. They're dead. They're not lying. So that's a nonsensical question. It's also a straw man attempt to skirt the issue. Rather than accepting how flat Earth simply is measured, putting the onus on you, the person passing on the information, to explain why some ethereal they are claimed to, because there's no proof being presented, lie. What is the lie, and who are the people perpetuating it? What we have is a chronology for a story of heliocentrism that derives orbital motion from flat Earth measurements. Where's the lie? We measure Earth flat with angles. Kepler and Huygens can give you distances that are later claimed to be travel to the moon. Are you saying that the people who've claimed to travel to the moon are lying? Yeah, they definitely are. The people who claim to be out in a sky vacuum. But that's the only answer that I can give when someone says, why would they lie? The only liars that we can actually peg down as actually lying, that's to say we know for sure and without a doubt, they are distrustworthy based on their false information that they were acutely aware of wasn't true. They know they are lying, making them liars. That's astronauts. Any man, woman who claims to go out to a sky vacuum and go around the moon, no, you've derived distances based on Huygens' extrapolations from Kepler's orbital motion. You required the axiomatic principle of flat Earth elevation angle measurement in order to achieve this out-of-the-box orbital motion that only functions in mathematics. It's not reality, it's out-of-the-box mathematics, based on flat Earth measurements, not spherical. To infer that we have this system of sphericity in an orbital motion, we must describe it from inside a ball that nobody's ever going to stand in. We stand on the plane extrapolated out to be the equatorial plane in orbital motion and orbital mechanics, with distances derived by assumptions that Venus, another light in the sky, has the same flat Earth prerequisite measurement to derive into a radial value. That's where you get your distance to go around the moon from. Flat Earth measurements, violating the principle of the flat surface that's been measured to infer it. So the man who says he goes around the moon is a liar. But that's it. There's no other liars. So when they say why would they lie, they're meaning the government, the anti-flurf trolls, the people who talk about heliocentrism, your teachers. And it's like, none of these people are actually liars. They're wrong. They're not liars. Spacemen are liars.
So the proper question should be, but then why is everybody being taught that we're on a globe?
Who cares? Why does that
Well,
matter?
it beats the why would they lie.
But to seem intelligent, not knowing the answers looks bad. Who cares? Why would you derive motivation for why we're taught something that's incorrect? It's just incorrect. Why? Well, because it's got measurements attached and they're all flat. Beyond that,
Yeah.
why are you asking me? Who cares?
You know something, you're right.
So
Because once we get to the measurements, then there shouldn't even be the question I asked. They shouldn't even ask why am I being taught it's a sphere in school. That should be gone once you come to an understanding of the measurements.
I suppose the only thing you should ask yourself is, I wonder why they are lying. Because you've not realised.
Here we go again.
Who are they?
After reading Nathan's book,
The astronauts, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
For a paycheck.
Yeah, that's mostly the answer. Who said that for a paycheck? Who said that? 10 points. Liam.
Cheeky bastard, Liam.
Well, you're spot on. Why do most people lie? Well, because they're incentivized. Now, paycheck is as broad as it needs to be to make the example, but like with some things that have been recently stolen from me, it's not necessarily about money. There are other things that incentivize people. But for gain, you know, that would be the more broad term that I'll describe rather than a paycheck. But you're absolutely right in your sentiment. Yeah, people gain from it. It doesn't matter if it's social status or perceived wealth. There are all sorts of things that people value that they are offered in order to facilitate them being deceptive. Now, we can ascribe this only, and I'll say it one more time, to people that we know are being deceptive about an area that they claim to travel to, that's derived for distances, at least mathematically, from flat planes that put a suggestion of orbital mechanics into a violation of its base principle measurements. Ergo, this area is not real. There is no sky vacuum in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. The gas that we're breathing would fill that space if it was available to the gases. That's entropic dispersion. So therefore, any man or woman that claims to be in that area is a liar. Why would they lie? That's an appeal to motivation fallacy. Who cares? It's not real. I can demonstrate why. That's it. If there's an astronaut in front of me, I'll call him a liar if he says he goes to space. And watch him blush or her blush.
What do you mean it's not real? When I look up and I see the moon, the sun, the stars, are you going to tell me that that's not real what I'm looking at?
Didn't say that's not real. I said it's not a sky vacuum.
Sky.
The distances that are asserted to those objects are derived from flat Earth prerequisites to create orbital motion in the first instance, derived radial values, and then the scale is offered by Huygens, ascribing a flat Earth measured inferred spherical radial value by way of elevation angle measurements to those stars in the first instance or the sun in the first instance. So you've got a minimum elevation angle to Polaris and an averaged analemma value that you can put at the equator for the midpoint of the seasons with the sun. That's where you derive the equatorial plane. Those two values give you a system that you can put yourself in and extrapolate out orbital motion from it. But you start with flat Earth measurements that are being violated. So ultimately speaking, the suggestion of orbital motion for a spherical world takes place in a sphere at a distance ascribed by way of flat Earth measurements of radial value. That's how we get to the distances. The area itself that these lights that you describe, moon and stars and sun, are in, is also claimed to be a vacuum. Well, the gas that we're breathing would fill the space if it was an available volume available to it in line with entropic law, the second law of thermodynamics, in this case described admirably with entropic dispersion of gases into volumes. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
I suppose, like, after reading the book, somebody should just be saying, I wonder why nobody else has realised this, that the Earth has always been measured flat and always will be. I'm going to recommend this book to everybody and send as many copies out as I can to whoever I can, and then they will realise it themselves.
Indeed, that's my absolute desire. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Oh, well, taste of your own medicine. Anyway, we're not talking about that, are we?
No, while he's changing the show, we are, but now we could stop.
Outrageous.
He's probably back.
Somebody in the chat accused me of being a kid better.
Yeah, I timed him out. He did it right at the end.
Nathan
He didn't
Oakley,
even spell it right.
the kid better. Better?
That's obnoxious.
Yeah, he can't spell, can he?
No, he's a freaking retard.
They're not sending their best.
Yeah, they come in disguised as, nerdist with tags like flat smackers. And,
Beer bangers.
I had a feeling as soon as I seen the first, thing he wrote, I said I should time him out now. But then, boom, came out with it. So, what are you going to do?
I don't know, time him out.
He
Scumbags.
did. Well, I banned him, so he ain't gonna be back. Schuberticus is back. He hasn't been here for a while. He's having a child soon. Supposed to be now. Supposed to be by the 13th. So I guess his wife
he
is
had
way
some-
overdue.
Oh, sorry, mate. I was just going to say he had some work done.
Yeah, but it wasn't a vasectomy.
Missed the show today. Just been mad busy. Just managed to get on there at the end. Did you do any videos of that? Or just chatting?
Nah, just chatting. Why would you? Why don't you be happy busy? What's with this mad busy?
It just means very mad. Just means very. I wasn't mad or angry or upset. It's just mad. Just mad busy just means very busy.
Listen, you half deck.
1.5 deck.
1.5 deck. This is your friendly neighborhood sewer rat speaking.
Is it not sewer rat? Dwarf sewer rat, is it? Sorry, mate.
Midget sewer rat.
Midget sewer rat, yeah. Oh, God. I'm driving. I'll have a look at them messages later just for a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, I put it in the only one you forgot to post it in because I don't think you got her link, Jenna's server. Because that's the only one that General Jerkoff is allowed in now. He's been banned and blackballed and blacklisted from everybody.
Not seen you for a bit, Liam. Where have you been, mate?
Oh, busy.
Mad busy.
Mad busy?
Wait till you get mad busy, mate. Then you'll know about it. Mad for it. Kid. I've got a big. I've got something in the kitchen at home. It's called a Manc dictionary. It's just got all like words that Mancunians say. You know, like kid and mad for it and.
What kind of kids?
You call your brother. You call your brother our kid. We've got our kids. Means your brother.
What is it? Slang? Definitions of slang or something?
Yeah, it's a Manchester slang. It's just Manchester where I live. That's
okay.
That's the sort of like you have your own sort of abbreviations and shortenings of words to describe things. But I've got a big poster, like picture of it notes all the words on it. It's I think mad for it is on it. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. How's Refracted doing? Good of him.
I haven't heard from him. So I was asking yesterday if anybody has gotten in touch with him. Anybody heard from him? Well, I guess not.
I'm just driving, so it's a bit noisy, so I'm just can't jump in a lot at the moment. Any plans for the weekend, guys? Curry night tonight, Nathan, or what?
I've got to do work. Not that I noticed Craig had suggested it would be a curry night anyway, but I've got to do stuff on the book, unfortunately. I say
Oh,
unfortunately.
every Friday was curry night.
You are?
I thought every Friday was curry night.
No.
I've had some bad experiences lately. There's a couple of, I've said this before, there's a couple of places where I just swear by near me in an area called Cheetham Ale. It's a bit, they're just like curry cafes, home cooking, cooked up overnight like a stew, and they're absolutely fantastic and cheap. But then there's closer to home, there is some like normal type restaurants, which is the Blue Bay, the Lime Tree, and there's another, is it the Bombay Huts or something it's called? But the thing is, they hit and miss. So I go in sometimes to say, can I have the chicken karai or the chicken boona? And I think, it was absolutely fantastic, mouth-watering. And then the following Friday, I'll go back, come back home with a takeaway, open it up, and then there'll be loads of chunky onions in this one. It wasn't like the texture last week, and it's just not the same. So you never get the same, it's just hit and miss all the time. So I've decided I'm not going to them anymore. If I can't get to the Cabana Cafe or Chapati Corner, which is my favourite places, on a Friday to get a takeaway, I won't be going there. I'll make one.
It depends what cats and swans are able to catch that week.
Those weren't chunks of onions, my friend.
No, it's pigeons near us, mate.
My kids don't even like to go out to eat with us because me and my wife are very listen, I feel this should be with everybody. When you sit down to eat at a restaurant, the food should be edible, number one, should be good, and you should have great service. I should not be trying to move dishes around with garbage and napkins on them to make room. You understand what I'm saying? So you better be on point when I come sit down in a restaurant. And if it's not good, I'm sending that shit back. Now, I was told by a restaurateur to do that. He said, if you don't like something, you send it back. And I said, yeah, but I heard people spit on it when they make a new one. He goes, nah, that's bullshit. He goes, you send it back if you're not happy with it. Our job, when you sit down, well, he was speaking of his restaurant, Glenn Fletcher, a Cuban Jewish guy. He said, when you sit down at my place, I want you to have a good experience. So you're sitting in my Cuban restaurant called Cabana. I want you to have a good experience. Go back on me. And he gave me his card and he gave me a few different things to choose. Because somebody took me and my wife there and we didn't know what to order. And I ordered something that was traditionally for Cubans. And if you were from Cuba, you would have loved it. I thought it sucked. And I told him that. So he said, go back on me, order this. What does your wife like? I said, she likes steak. He goes, all right, order this. And when we went back there, first of all, we were treated like freaking kings and queens, right? They waited on us hand and foot. And the stuff he told me to get, outstanding. Churrasco steak and camarones al ajillo. It's shrimp and white wine sauce. And my wife got the Churrasco steak, and it was outstanding. They brought dessert to us. And then when I was finished, I looked at the guy, and he made a motion with his hands, like, wipe it away. It's on us. And that's the way you should be treated in a restaurant.
Yeah, we don't get that sort of a service in England. I remember once I made the mistake of asking my landlord what beer I should buy, what he recommends. And he looked at me and he said, all of them.
Yeah, well, beer, I see. But even over here, we have they're popping up all over the place. These beer gardens where they're making their own beer. There's like all different types of beer you could choose. Now, I'm not a drinker, so that don't appeal to me. But from what I hear, there's some are better than others, and you got to pick the right one. Now, what I learned from that is the waiter that's taking care of you, they should be able to read like where you're from, who you are, and if you're ordering certain things, they should guide you away to something better. Like he was. I remember this guy was pissed because whoever took care of us did not guide us to something that would, like we ate when we went back, would have been beautiful. So we would have never had the bad experience. But yeah, I didn't know. So ever since then, whenever I went out, if something wasn't good, I would just send it back.
Thing is, though, like you're saying about them doing things in the kitchen, I was out with the lads once. I can't remember why we was out on a lads sort of night out, but we was all in the curry place, and I ordered a chicken sizzler. I don't know if you're aware. That's like you get your chicken on a mixed grill sizzler or something. Comes on a hot plate, and when they bring it out, it's all sizzling, and they've got some peppers on there and onions, and it's quite nice. So I ordered that, and mine eventually came out. But it was on a plate, just a normal like dinner plate. So I looked at it, I thought, what's going on? He walked away. I thought, what's going on here? So I shouted him back. I said, yeah, mate. I said, there's something missing off this dish. He said, and what's that? I said, the effing sizzle. It's got no sizzle. Can you hear the sizzle? I was a little bit thingy with him, like, a bit like, so take it back. And bring it out with get me a new sizzle. I want the sizzle. Why do you think I've ordered the sizzle? And he took it back, and all the lads are like that. You know what's going on in that kitchen with your sizzler.
Well, you got to be nice about it. You can't be rude like that. You can't just say, asshole, you're missing the sizzle here. Now, they might, but from what I heard from the guy, Glenn, and he owned that restaurant and like 5 others in the area, some in Miami, some in Jersey, some in North Carolina. So he's a restaurateur, right? And I became friends, kind of like sort of like friends with him throughout the years. But he says that does not get done. Now, I'm not saying like who knows, but I guess in the restaurants he ran, because he ran some nice restaurants. He had one called the Mardi Gras. That was the foods out of what do you call that? Louisiana, New Orleans. And the Cabana is his main one. I mean, that one, you can't go wrong with the dishes that he recommended, but I don't think they do that. If you ask nicely, I mean, just be a gentleman about it, and they'll treat you like a gentleman. You get treated accordingly. Now, there are times when I don't feel so good about it when I'm sitting in a place and I'm like, this ain't Glenn Fletcher. I don't know who this guy is, so we'll send it back, but I don't want anything else. I don't want it remade. I don't want anything else. I'll have some of what my wife's eating. I'll share with her. If I feel that, there's a chance these dudes might spit in it or something.
Tell you what, though, it's not cheap going out nowadays, is it? Like we're saying, the expense, isn't it?
No, I mean, that's why. So when you go out, the food should be good. Because if I'm going to drop a deuce, I got me, my wife, and 3 boys that are the size of gorillas. So they freaking eat. So we don't get a chance to go out because it's going to be $150 and better before the tip. That's without dessert. We usually get like a dessert where they'll all grab a spoon and eat it, like a big dessert, usually. So when we go out, when we have a chance to, I want it to be good. And, waiter's got to be on point. Like we had, I was making a bet with my wife. I was like, let's see who's smart enough to come and take this plate full of napkins and scraps that's on the edge of the table. Let's see who the first waiter is that's going to use his head and take away this plate.
Tell you what, though, I don't do so bad. There's a couple of restaurants. I've known these guys years. They're friends of mine. One's an Italian restaurant called Babbo, and the other one's a tapas bar called Campo, local. They've got walk-in cold rooms. They've got refrigerators and ice machines, and I do the work for them. So a lot of the time, if they've got like work going on, to help them out as well, because sometimes they're struggling because not a lot of people are going out and they're trying to get people in and do deals. So I just say to him, right, because most of the time I've got the stuff in my van, I can just, it works, but I'll change a fan, put a bit of gas in, and I'll just say, right, just sort as a meal. I'll come in with a fam and have a meal. So, and that's cheaper for him because he's not pulling cash out of his safe or his till. And it's just coming out the kitchen as food. Like, I can see it as a bit of a waste loss, can't you? But I enjoy doing that. And then that way I've done the work, but I'm not really, putting my hand in my pocket and then laying out, 150 quid for, a meal. I can get it for the work that I've already done. So
Nice.
I tend to do that, yeah. So that works well with me, with them 2 restaurants especially. I just did a bit of work last week at Campo. He had a problem with his cold room, so I did a bit of work on that. And he does vouchers and food vouchers. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, we'll just sort some out, Aaron, we'll sort a meal out. I'll come in from it. He said, I'll send you a voucher. And I was only in there half an hour. So he sent me £100 voucher, food voucher.
Nice.
So go in there. Yeah, so I thought, well, so I can just go out. So I'm not putting my hand in my pocket in these instances. It's great.
The barter system. You pretty much use the barter system with him. I'll take care of your AC, but I could come and have a nice meal.
Yeah.
I just did that. I repaired somebody's carpet, and in return, he's going to put my compressor in for the car because I got no air conditioner.
Oh, did you get that sorted? Yeah.
I got to buy the compressor, $182. As soon as I got it, I'll be there, get it, and I'll put the compressor in. That's the way you got to do things these days, because when I went to get it priced, this freaking guy was trying to charge me $2,000 in a freaking shop. I was like, are you out of your mind? The car's not even worth $500. What would make you think I'm going to put $2,000 into this car? He goes, well,
yeah,
that's the whole compressor. You need the belts and everything. I could just change the compressor. I said, well, what will that cost? There goes his little calculator. Well, that's going to be $800. I said, that's still out of my freaking league. I said, I can't. I will not do that. He said, all right, so just cover me for the time I spent. I said, time you spent? I've been sitting here. You just freaking started looking at my car. You didn't even run the freaking the refrigerant in to see. I don't know what you did, but yeah, you tried to charge me $175 for that. So I'm not paying that. I do not have that. I will give you $75, and that will bother me to give you that. But I don't want to be a scumbag. I'll give you $75. I said, I don't know how you operate here, but that's not how you do it. You tell me, listen, if I don't find anything wrong, there's still a charge. And I would have gladly walked away and brought it to freaking AutoZone. That don't charge you a thing. Go look at it. Just the mechanics are not, really good mechanics. Those people in the AutoZones, they're good for freaking oil changes or rotating tires. You don't want them freaking putting a compressor in for you. Believe me.
Well, apparently that's how they used to do it hundreds of years ago, isn't it? Someone will swap a pig for whatever someone else has got on their land, and they'll just trade.
I'll give you a pig. You give me one of your lambs. All right, deal's done. Wait a second. My pig outweighs that lamb by at least 300 pounds. Yeah, man, have to get back to the barter system very shortly.
That £300 would be a vertical downward vector to a horizontal plane, mate.
Absolutely. Now we're back on flat Earth. Let's discuss these things. Now, the only housekeeping, we don't even have housekeeping questions anymore, do we, One Deck? We have statements of fact. Now, what's that one statement of fact that we want to echo to eternity?
I think it goes as something a little like, can the Earth be measured any other way other than flat?
No, you asked the question there, my friend. You said can.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, mate, yeah. I am driving, and that's my excuse.
The only way to measure Earth is flat. We're telling you. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, if it's not flat, it's got to be measured with respect to horizontal distance with linear miles ascribed to those distances. So I don't know if anybody liked what I was putting down today. Maybe a few of you joined after I started saying it. But the idea that, you know, a mile might be axiomatically applied to flat Earth distance, linear and horizontal in nature. But as an entity, it's not got lips. It cannot, quote unquote, speak for itself. No reaction. It's my way of trying to explain how globe believers have got away with violating the very axiomatic principle of a horizontal distance to infer that the distance is curving, when if it was curving, you'd have to derive the curve from the horizontal distance. But a mile is not going to put up any objection when you use it in its base principle of being horizontal and linear and distance and applied to the Earth's surface. When you suggest that the Earth's surface is curving as a result of a derivative value that comes off the back of that flat Earth measurement, the mile's not going to make any complaints.
Yeah, and
What's
like
the
I said,
terminology?
we're being the voice for... Go ahead, one day.
Sorry, I would say what's the terminology we use for the start of that linear measurement? Because obviously you get the rebuttals like, you know, you can use a tailor's cloth tape measure to wrap round the waist. That's not linear. Obviously, in the first instance? I can't remember the terminology. What's the actual terminology that we use? I can't remember the words.
Neil's trying to just disagree with you. When somebody says that this principle can be violated in terms of how a tape measure works when you wrap it around the chest of a person, if you're a tailor, there's two things. One, no, in axiomatic principle, an inch is still horizontal, it's still flat, it's still linear. So when you violate or work outside of the principle of the measurement itself, does that mean that the measurement itself stopped being axiomatically linear? No, it doesn't. You're just working outside of the convention for the ease of the purposes that you want to apply to tailoring. When we measure Earth, we're not tailoring. If we're going to describe a deviation, that's to say, if you've got a curve like the fat man's belly, then you'll describe that deviation from the horizontal measured in a linear mile. That's to say, the hills and the valleys, you can describe how much they deviate in the vertical from the horizontal, but the horizontal is still measured flat and linear when you apply it to Earth's surface. So it's like, so let me get it right. We're applying horizontal and linear distance measurements when we talk about miles and apply them to Earth. Your response, yeah, but if I measure a fat man, okay, like it's non sequitur.
True, but even if you measure a fat man, the measurement at its origin, down to the inch, would be linear, not arc.
Yep. Well said. But
Even what's his name? Even when they came,
to put up with.
one deck, even when they came with the trundle wheel, doesn't matter. You can go up a mountain, down a mountain. Those measurements are still linear. At its origin, you're still using miles. Well, pretty mellow Friday. I remember when Fridays used to be called Freaky Fridays because we'd go into all the servers and we'd bring our lion in and we'd cut the lion loose. Remember them days, one deck?
Being up till 2 o'clock in the morning, calling Middle Eastern gentlemen, I'll see you next Tuesday.
People love that. They still come on. That Gakushi guy comes on all the time. You need to go for the worldwide debates. I mean, you need to start destroying some balls over there.
Yeah. Well, we've got better things to do. You know, we don't need to do it. It's fun now and then.
Yeah, I guess. Past all of that, when you realize there is never has been a fight, or there never has been an argument, or there never has been a debate, you kind of like just scratch your head and like, why would I even entertain these things anymore? I try, don't get me wrong. I'll go on some different servers to see what they're talking about. And the most I can last is maybe 15 minutes. And then I'm out of there. The nonsense that people are talking about, the flat earth that they walk right past and just ignore, and then go into a debate about freaking how much is missing off of a freaking building. Are you kidding me? In 2026, we're still talking about these things? Refraction, Earth turn. Come on now.
Again, another level that I'm hoping the book will appeal to people in our own sphere of influence. That is to say, your average guy who's made his way, presumably from a conspiratorial subject, into the subject of flat Earth, and has then ham-handedly made his way through heliocentric assertions in an attempt to undo them, will suddenly start to appreciate that there's actually a shortcut. In other words, even if you are a fart-sniffing anti-glober who wants to lord it over next man because you understand how you can prove Earth is flat, you'll start utilising the measurements when you appreciate them, because it is a shortcut to winning. I mean, it doesn't matter that I decry that aspect of it as being unnecessary or redundant. You can still win if your only objective is to take a glober apart based on their rhetoric. When you start pointing out that their rhetoric requires Earth to be measured flat, most people will still say, well, I'm still going to fire that silver bullet. Now I've learnt it. So you'll probably find that there's again, if people enjoy reading the book, taking the information and then want to recommend it to next man, there's a good chance that people will find their way into this arena for the same reasons that they always came, if they are that way inclined, that's to say to lord it over next man for their intellectual superiority. But they'll be doing it with flat Earth measurements, and doing it with the glober's own flat Earth measurement. You'll see it happening after the book comes out. As I say, if it gets recommended well and people start reading into those prerequisites for what they are, you know, it's been explained to them throughout the text. It's peppered and littered throughout every chapter. So I would assume that there are people who are one degree of separation from where we are, that you're moaning about currently, that will just pick up that golden bullet, and no matter how much we say, well, that makes us redundant, it would have been measured flat anyway. Their assertion that their sphere is existent relies on them being capable of being used and utilised with flat Earth measurements. Someone will say, well, I don't care that that makes me redundant. I can just go into this arena and start pointing out how flat all their measurements are and win immediately. And some people will derive great pleasure from that.
We used to.
Yeah, until it seems a bit silly, and you're like, well, what was the point? If we're going to measure it flat anyway, you start assessing the people that you're winning. What are you winning? What do you get? Do you get a prize? Do you get a holiday? Do you get a speedboat? What's Bully's special prize?
Here's what you could have won.
Exactly. Does the opponent get told what they could have won if they'd have just proven their ball without using flat Earth prerequisites? No, you don't get any of that. Suddenly you have to assess the people that you're arguing with. You go, hang on, you had no consequence in this discussion.
I guess it's
And
just
nobody does.
pride.
Say again, Liam.
I guess you win your own self-pride.
The way to get mass acceptance, another thing that often people have said that they want, this time next year, 20 million people will be flat earthers, right? In order to get that, you need, number one, half the population, the women, to recognise it as not being a battle, not being confrontational, not being a fight. Because that side, the feminine side of the humanity that we all experience, doesn't want a fight, right? Now, they might want men to engage in it, but they literally don't want to be fighting and arguing. I've only got to look at my own statistics to know how little interest women have got in this subject. Why? Well, because it's perceived to be a debate, a battle. So it engages very few women. Now, if it can be explained in a way that it's not only inconsequential if you know, but will always be utilised regardless of if you accept it or not. So, in other words, if someone says, I don't want to get involved in this fight for the flat earth, and then they read the book and go, well, without me being involved in this previously conceived to be a fight, it would be and is being measured flat anyway. So it's just flat anyway, regardless of if I get involved, don't get involved, it's just flat anyway. That's the point that you can have mass acceptance. You have to have simultaneously attached to the mass acceptance a realisation that you don't need to be involved for it to be so. Now, for Flat Earth, we're lucky because the end result of our goal, if we were to suggest it as a belief that we wanted to affirm, would need something that would be capable of demonstrating proof. In this case, the proof was already in place. It was just whistled past and utilised by a side that created the impression there was an argument when there really wasn't one. But that level of indifference must be on offer to at least the fairer, I don't want to just say women, but the people who aren't confrontational. They need to see it as something that they can understand and appreciate without having to have any confrontation. Now, they then have to face an awful different dilemma, which is, do you lie when someone asks you about it? If it came up in conversation about whether or not Earth was spherical, and you knew for sure and without a doubt, whether you liked it or not, that it was being measured flat, would you then kowtow to a societal demand that you believe it's spherical? Would you lie to yourself when you know that? But that's not a dilemma that I'm going to concern myself with as a consequence of reading my book. I just go, well, that's for you to decide after you appreciate for sure and without a doubt how flat Earth is being dealt with regardless of your belief that you formerly held. If you still want to hold it after knowing it's measured flat, again, that's on you. That's your bag, right? If you want to do that, you can. I'm not going to stop you. You're entitled to your belief. You want to believe that we've got a spherical, mathematically induced world based on flat Earth measurements? You go ahead and believe that we've got a spherical world based on flat Earth measurements. That's up to you, though. It's silly, and you'd have to lie to maintain that belief, but that's up to you. So I hope it's digestible on that level. I really hope when the book comes out, I get a bit of feedback from somebody who's a complete novice, female, and says, yeah, I get it. It's just measured flat, right? Yeah, I totally get it. That's what I'm hoping for. It was the reaction my wife gave me when I asked her what she thought of it having helped make it. She's like, I understand at the end of it that Earth is measured flat. You're like, I can't really ask for much more than that.
Well, you have Goldie. She's in the chat from time to time. She's one of your Patreons, and I'm sure she'll get a copy. And she'll, then you'll see. Other than that, I don't know of any other women that there's the poem lady, right? So you should be getting some feedback from them.
We'll see. Like I say, I hope people recommend it to Auntie Susan. And Auntie Susan
Paula?
gives fair feedback, and the feedback is, I understand it's measured flat in all circumstances.
Right. We got Paula Bible U. I'm sure she'll give you what do you say? She'll give you some feedback. So we have a few of them out there. My wife, when she reads it. So we'll see. I think you covered it well.
Yeah, well, all the best will in the world and best intentions for how I hope it will be perceived by a reader is all for nothing till you actually get the feedback and find out if that's how it's been taken, if the information that you hope was imparted on the reader is actually imparted on the reader. It's one thing for me and my wife to go through it and go, yes, we've done a good job. It seems to flow nicely. There's enough anecdotes to keep you interested in between the factual information. It's constantly reiterating how flat Earth is measured. I can't really think of anything else that I could do to make it better phrased. I can only use my own linguistic skills to the maximum of my own ability. So you stamp it at the end and go, I'm happy with that. I mean, however long it was, 3 weeks ago, I think I passed it over to the publisher. And at that point, I was like looking at it going, I'm happy with this, having read it a few times and not needed to make any more alterations. So we'll see. I can only gauge if I've done a good job about a week or two after it's come out and I start getting feedback from people who've actually read it. And my main hope is that someone says, I not only read it, I thought it was good enough to recommend to X person. Would you agree that what I've assessed as the desires of the internal group, that is to say, people want to be able to pass it on to the next person and have them understand that Earth's flat after reading it? That's the most expressed desire that I've heard from people.
Absolutely. I think when your wife gave that critique when you asked her, that was what you were gunning for. So that's like perfect. I know she's your wife and there's might be some bias there, but you got to take her at her word. And if she walked away from this knowing that, then you did what you set out to do. You send a copy to your mum.
No, I will once it's signed off. Yeah, I'll enjoy getting the opinion of my sister and mother.
That's where you get the truth. Like I remember when I had a band, my mother would tell me, "What the hell are you playing out there? It sounds like shit." So I know, well, this was no good. Let's try something else. Mothers are always going to tell you the truth. So that'll be a good measuring stick there. Your immediate family.
Sure.
Now, I have a school teacher cousin that I would like to pass this off to. My cousin Kathy. She's been a brainiac since I know her, which is my whole life.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a school teacher, and I've had a few, back and forths, but I want to see when I hand her this book. But she'll read it. She won't just put it on the coffee table and leave it there. She'll read it. I want to see her reaction.
Yeah, I anticipate it'll take a couple of weeks to get any reactions out of anybody.
And don't forget, we got Elijah. He's always hanging out with women, according to Vaxie.
I was going to say, I didn't realise having an Elijah was something to have in your back pocket. I mean, I can count him as my black friend, I suppose. That is useful.
Well, whenever he's on the show and he's talking to a friend about it, that friend is usually female.
You're not here? I thought we were trying to get him to talk.
Oh, I don't know if he's here. I was just saying that.
Are you in Discord, Eli? No, clearly not. Yeah, I've got to get my quota in. Need to convert a certain number of people to Flat Earth, Neil. It's my duty.
You get it. Let's check fruit baskets. See how many people you converted. That's what Jin told me.
Fruit
You can't even
baskets.
convert your own family. Right now, Jin is sitting in UK politics.
What's that? A Discord server?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it doesn't sound very flat earthy to me, although the politics server that we used to go in often talked about the subject of flat earth, even though it was called politics, which never really made any sense to me. It's like, why is it called the politics server again?
I think they went in there originally to try and get more people, just to hit like we did with the geography channels, trying to get in there so other people are in there will, obviously pick up on this flat earth and we'll get more listeners and more people involved. I think that was the thinking behind it.
Well, because in that server, they have all different rooms. Yeah, right now, Jin is sitting in UK politics. So I don't know where that is. Is that a new server or is that part of 24/7?
Don't know. Wouldn't have a clue.
Probably part of 24/7, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, they might have just got a new tab sort of thing. I don't know, a new room. Who else is in there? Can you see anyone you know? Not that it matters.
I don't see anyone I know, so it must be all about politics. I see a guy named Grunt163, Niche, Malaysian, Red, Ski, Top Hat.
Well, the thing is,
Musa.
In politics, there's a lot of debating, isn't there? So obviously the debate's over in Flat Earth, so people will sort of find their way to politics channels and try and find a debate or someone to argue with about something else. Now,
You could go in there and ask him to lay down a scientific method for me.
We're going to call the 9/11 the truth.
all right, George.
Georgie!
Hey, guys.
Yes, George. How you doing, mate?
Where you been?
I'm busy, man. New job. And
You're mad busy, mate, or just busy?
Better not be catching you on the other side of town, Georgie.
Funny. Have you been keeping up with the not flat Earth debate, George?
Well, to be truthful, I didn't have much time to follow up. Can't keep up with everything, man. There's a lot of things.
You're still doing the stage work and setting up stages and all that.
Nice.
No, I don't set up stages. I do events, different types of events, from charity dinners to weddings, bar mitzvah parties, stuff like that. Charity
So, Georgie,
events.
didn't you one time have the show on and it was on the speaker? Was that you that time?
Yeah, it was me, yeah. I was in the restaurant working on, and I decided to go for a cigarette break. And my phone was connected Bluetooth to the Wi-Fi on the restaurant. So when I came outside and I put it on Nathan's show, it was playing on the speakers in the restaurant.
Hope there wasn't too much swearing.
That's brilliant. Was you shouting and screaming at Zanuck or something like that? Was it?
Yeah, it was a bit. Yeah, it was a bit. Yeah, it was a heated discussion. It didn't take me long to realize the mistake because the sound wasn't coming out of my phone; it was coming out of the speakers. It was a few seconds, but yeah, enough to for people to jump from the seat.
I bet George walked back in. They thought, bloody hell, I've never heard you like that before, mate.
George was probably running back in there.
Yeah. Well, these events,
man.
you set up like.
I had a plumber.
Sorry.
Oh, listen to this one. I had a plumber in my house. Yeah. And I'm on my sofa listening to the show. Loudspeaker, obviously, on my phone. The guy rings the bell, I let him in, and the phone still on, just playing Nathan's show. And the guy was saying, "Who's this guy talking?" I said, "Oh, that's Nathan. Nathan is very good at debating people." "Oh, what's the theme?" "The theme is flat Earth, dude. Flat Earth." "Don't you know the world is flat?" And we started. Yeah.
Oh.
But again, this is a subject you cannot have a chat for 5 or 10 minutes, even half an hour about it. It takes many hours of discussion. Most of the time, you don't have time for it.
I don't know about that. Back then, it took many hours, but you should be getting right to the point now, Georgie.
You should have asked him about water pressure.
Oh yeah, but it goes over their head. You know what I mean? It goes over their head. The argument is dead, but the guys are still trying to bring it up this and that. Say, hold on a second, but did you hear what I just said? It's flat. All measurements are flat. Oh, but there is no but. The argument is finished.
So you're saying they're still arguing. They're still looking for an argument where there is no argument, even when you bring them to the measurements of being flat.
Yep. And not only that, and now it's easier, before you would kill one argument, for let's say gravity, for example, you'll kill it. And then they'll bring a different subject, and then you will have to kill that one again with a different thing. Now, any argument they'll bring it up, they'll say, you're going to need a flat earth for that.
Yeah, well, this is what Nathan's saying now. You can, anything that comes out the mouth, you can immediately, with your plumber, you could have said what water pressure is in the house and then just talk about what's the water pressure at sea level. And obviously that's referencing a level plane of pressure at surface level, 0 degree baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth. So you can just move it round to anywhere, with anyone, with any trade, in any occupation. You can just get back down to the measurement with something they'll probably understand, like water pressure, because he should understand that.
I guess the argument is easier than that, because any mapping system, any navigation system will require a flat plane for you to be able to navigate.
Yeah, it's called sea level. Sorry, I mean sea level.
Exactly. I mean, it's in the word, sea level. The conversation should finish there, If it's level instead of the story.
Yep, end of story. What did we say yesterday, Neil? It ends where it starts.
Yep. As soon as you start, that's where it ends.
It starts at level, and that's the end of the story.
Well, it started at the horizon, and it ends at the horizon, because the horizon, by definition, is horizontal at right angles. What is the right angle? 90 degrees? Yeah, game over. It's always been game over. But again, when we say sea level to someone, it goes over their head. It goes over their head. Just by saying those words, sea level, the argument is finished. But no, they want to continue, you know, with something else, another bullshit, piece of nonsense. I mean,
Level's just a point, George. Level's just a point.
a point, yeah. No part.
So then why isn't it called sea point? Why is it called sea level?
Yeah,
And it's measured from the center of Earth in hell.
Yeah, I see how they could still, you know, work their arguments in, but they're just, listen, if people can't comprehend sea level, now we passed it quite a few times for quite a few years, but now that we're highlighting it, they can't get around it. So they know what's happening. So they're only fooling themselves and lying to themselves if they want to say that sea level is from the center of Earth, equidistant. The center of Earth. I mean, that's just ridiculous. We're talking about the surface, right? Not the center of Earth, the surface. That's where we get all our measurements from, the surface. Anything you measure, right, must be from a horizontal baseline. Otherwise, how would you measure anything with any accuracy?
It's not, it must be. You've got no choice other than to do that because that's what we've had to deal with from day one. Sea level. It was just there.
Correct.
It's the master reference measuring system, sea level.
And then they go, well, the oceans are so deep. How come you've never discussed the depth of the ocean? Well, how do you derive the depth of the ocean? Right? What are you deriving that from?
It's the whole language, guys. Yeah, the whole language that must be used to describe any of this. The language is flat. Why? Because it's Euclidean geometry. Its horizontal line is the baseline for everything.
Not in spherical geometry, mate.
Even for spherical geometry, you're going to need a baseline. You need to have a radius coming from the center. And the radius is flat, it's horizontal.
Yeah, there's no way out of it, is there? But like you say, we've skipped past a lot of things over the years, but now we're just crunching it down to the actual, you know, starts at level, mate. You know, if you might not like it, but that's what happens. If you don't believe us, go and look at a map. It'll show you the horizontal 0 degree baseline for all elevation profiles. It's been measured, and that's what's used, and that's how we get around. So it's always been that way.
And what is the map? Is the elevation above sea level. I'm from an island, so when I look at the for example, the map of the Azores, and you see all the different islands, yeah, it's an archipelago with 9 islands, and you can see all the elevations above sea level are the islands. What is below sea level is not the island, is it? So it's easy. It's very easy to understand this, man. I mean, if a 5-year-old can draw the horizon being flat, it's game over. Even the child can understand. Toddler can understand this, but an adult cannot because they've been brainwashed.
Georgie, are you talking into a Bluetooth? Because you sound a bit muffled when you speak.
I'm using my headphones.
Not Eli's headphones, are they?
You just sound a little bit muffled. Maybe somebody's covering mic, something you shared or something.
How does it sound now?
A little better.
Thanks for that.
Victory Royale!
That means the show's over.
What do you mean the show is over? Show must go on.
Have you been going in and out of any of the
what's the
servers
name of
yourself,
the-
George?
What's the name of Nathan's book?
Sorry, mate.
What's the name of Nathan's book?
Measured flat.
Measured Flat. Good one.
Should be out soonish. Just going over some finer details. Oh, what's this traffic about here now? For God's sake. Oh. Sick of
I
driving
was
today. I just
thinking
need
more
to get
like
out.
a title like an oxymoron, you know, like a flat globe.
The globe is flat. The Greeks all knew that.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been in any servers, George? Anywhere else? Having a little listen or discussions with anybody?
No. Every time I come in, there's nobody here. I come at late hours is when I have free time, but there's no one around. None of the servers that I have, I find it you guys, you know.
Yeah, things are changing a little bit. We're just, like you've just explained, we're just dealing with the actual facts of the matter that, you know, there's no argument, no debate. It's just always been like that, and it's measured flat. Just get down to the measurement. Don't need to argue about gravity or Coriolis or refraction or where the geometric horizon should be with, you know,
I have
it's never
something
been
to share
defined.
with the group. I have something
Hey?
to share with the group. It might be something that you guys already know, or maybe not.
Your alcoholism.
Antarctica has a 24-hour time zone.
I missed that, George, sorry. You are a bit muffled, but go on.
24-hour time zone in Antarctica. Google this.
24-hour time zone. That'll be measured. That'll be the sun's position over the horizontal plane, will it?
There you go. But nevertheless, if there's 24 time zones in Antarctica, I mean, it speaks volumes, isn't it?
Funny.
Hey, Eli. Were your ears burning? We were talking about you earlier.
What's up, guys?
This guy.
All right, Eli.
Well, we were saying the book will hopefully appeal to women, and Neil was like, oh, well, we will pass it to Eli, and then every friend that he's got will give us female feedback.
True. I'm definitely going to get a book for one friend in particular. Right. If it comes out by my birthday, I can get her one.
Right, Jimmy.
Any excitement happen?
Not sure. I missed the show today. I was mad busy, so I just jumped in a little bit after the show.
Yeah.
But no, the Earth's still measured flat and sea level's still level. I think so. Everything's good.
Would you believe that the other day, I went into pilot. I can't remember if it was either way. I went into 24/7, right? And Jen was in there talking to AI. Has this conversation came up yet?
Don't think so. Do you say gin?
Yeah.
CBR? Oh, no. Go on, what was he saying?
So he was in there talking to AI. Now, by the time I got there, this was a major event, apparently, because by the time I got there, he had been talking to the AI and did not know. And I said, nah, there's no way. At some point, I was like, because it was funny. And then I'm like, this doesn't feel good. Like, this feels like, I don't know. Some people were saying elder abuse. It was bad, So I got on the mic and I'm like, yo, Chip, come on. That was AI that you've been talking to all this time. You didn't know? He's like, no. Come on now. Well, okay. He took it pretty pretty chill. And so, mind you, he's not looking in the chat for whatever reason, even though people are pinging him, letting him know. And so the DJ is the one that did this, right? And then DJ put a mail bot. And I'm like, okay, so like now that I've told him it was AI, he's gonna. No, he sat there and talked to the male AI. And then they put a poll in the chat. And they said, yes, if Jen will know that the previous AI was AI when I load up the bot again, or no, he won't know. And I was like, of course he's going to know. There's no way. So DJ loads up the bot that he was previously talking to for 2 hours. And he asks, oh, is this AI, you guys, whatever. But the bot was like put on aggressive Glober mode. And it kind of felt like it was as close as real as it could possibly feel. Like it was interrupting. It was perfect. Okay. But I still knew it was AI. Like it's because the thing is, Jen doesn't just listen enough and look for the other person to respond enough to even care what they're talking about. Because how the freak could you talk to AI? So he went on to talk to the AI, the same voice, the same picture, the same everything that I just told him was AI prior to him talking to the male AI for 15 minutes. So it was 15 minutes. And then he proceeded to talk to the AI again for another hour.
Was he shouting and arguing with it?
Yeah.
That game was very good.
The bot really triggered him.
Wow. What was the subject matter?
It just saying random stuff like sunsets where he's like, no, I already told you. And it was like, oh yeah, because the astronaut, something. And he just went on. He's like,
Who are we talking about? I missed who you said.
oh,
Jim.
I think we were talking about flights. And the bot was like, no, that's not how flights work. No, see, you don't. So it's like it's interrupted, and I'm like, Jin is freaking fuming at an AI right now.
You're talking about Jin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't hear it, Neil. Yeah.
Did you miss the whole story?
You missed the whole story, Neil?
I approve of this message and the messages associated with it.
Nah, we brought Jin into the freaking fold We brought him in as a panel member, and he pulled out a freaking knife and stuck us in the back. All because of the scientific method.
No, but did you hear Eli's story properly? With the being told it was AI, yeah, and then not realizing the
long story short, I had popped up. Jen was talking to AI for 2 hours. I laughed for a while, but
No way.
Right, exactly. That was when I realized that the whole chat was laughing and trying to ping him, message him. So it's not like they weren't trying to stop him. 2 hours. He was talking to AI before I got there. And then he was talking to a male AI. But I had told him that the female AI was AI. And then he starts talking to the male AI. It's like, are you AI? But the AI tripped him up like, what do you know? Or some shit like that. He kept talking to him. Then DJ brought the AI bot back, the same one, same icon, same everything. And Jen's like, you're AI, but somehow DJ turned the glober in the bot way up, so the bot was like responding fast and like interrupting him. So the bot triggered him, and he literally argued with the bot for another hour. So that was 3+ hours of Jen. Even though I told him at the 2-hour mark that he was talking to AI, still talking to AI as if it was real. 3 hours plus.
In them 3 hours, did he ever mention or bring up sea level or our Earth should fly to end this conversation?
Yeah, he said that many times.
That sounds like Jim, but you know what happened to me one time? When Helio was around, I came in on a Saturday morning, and I started going nuts because they were allowing this freaking Glober to say whatever he wanted to. And I'm like, could somebody shut this guy up? And freaking Helio came in and he said, Neil, it's a tape or it's a show.
Yeah. I did that, you know, when I first got into this, like, and found Discord in the early days. I'm like, they used to play recordings on one of the things, and like I did exactly the same thing. I'm trying to get in there and thinking, why don't no one taking any notice of me? It's a good point I've got here. It was a fucking recording.
Yeah, and I'm saying, this son of a bitch keeps rumpusing me, and nobody's going to stop him. Where the freaking mods? Helio comes in with that voice on. Neil, it's a recording. I was like, oh, well, can somebody give me a hint?
Hours. Somebody that did hours.
I mean, do other people get stuck on this AI thing you've got with the different levels? You know, it's you people up there. Maybe not.
I just totally hate the name artificial intelligence.
Well, it just tells you it's not real. But it's sad, isn't it, when you've got to get AI now in as Globers?
Oh, because they're taking the intelligence from us.
Yeah.
Isn't that an oxymoron? It's artificial intelligence. Intelligence cannot be artificial. You must have a knower.
Noah as in Noah from Noah's Ark?
Noah's also a female name.
Like, yeah.
My daughter's got a friend called Noah, and I was like, oh, what's he like? And she's like, he's a she. Don't assume gender. I'm like, you're 7. You're not the boss of me.
Yeah, you're right. Noah can be male or female. And I had a Christian friend that found that out in the Bible and couldn't wait to name his daughter Noah. I'm like, why would you do that to her?
I think I know her.
I'm sort of like pissed off because the name Jedediah is also male or female.
Is pop quiz. How old was Noah in the Bible?
500 and something years old when he died.
Yeah, isn't that bonkers? He's like 570 or something years old.
Yeah, they changed it to 120 because that's what it would have to be. Otherwise, men in our sinful state, not good to live for 500 years. Yeah, I found out Jedediah was also a male, and I named my son Jedediah because the first 4 letters are Jedi. So I'm like, that's cool. We call him Jedi. I find out it's freaking a lady's name too.
You mean Jedi?
Now we call him by his middle name. We call him Jude.
Susan?
So Neil, what's
Jude, as in Jude Law.
Neil? What's the take on the whole Cain story and how, like, how did it become Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel?
That's just the story you're focusing on. Just focusing on Cain and Abel. They had many children. We don't know how many generations they were having children. Just because they're focusing in on Cain and Abel, that's easy, that one. But it used to get me all the time, too. I got some literature on it. I'll send it to you.
You do know Jude's...
the walking stick, not the cane.
You do know Jude's also a unisex name, right?
Who?
Jude is a unisex name also. You appreciate that, right?
Jude?
Jude, Jude.
Hey, Jude. What the freak?
I never knew that. I thought that was a woman's name only.
Yeah. Can I just get a male name, please?
Yeah, Jude is the short for Judith.
Have you never heard the song by Johnny Cash, A Boy Named Sue?
Yep. Absolutely.
But so people are like the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Neil. I've heard people like say, well, why would you have them sort of names in them days? Or was them the people's names, do you think, 2,000 years ago? Or what? Or has it been altered?
Yeah, those are the names. That's why we have the names today.
Why do people say it's strange to have the names in that part of the world long ago?
No, we've taken them, and because you've made it westernized doesn't mean anything. Michael, right? That's a name you think is the Americas, right? That's not. It's a biblical name.
But translated though, because the original was in Aramaic, and I'm sure in Aramaic he's not Mark or Luke. It must be a completely different sound. I understand that translated will mean the same, but the sound is different. The same as Jesus. I mean, the letter J only came in the alphabet later.
I love how you're talking about how different things sound, and you sound like you're in a freaking submarine.
I'm sorry about that.
Yes, remove the jumper from the microphone. Greta.
Shut up.
Someone's off muting G-Class unintentionally.
Okay.
Eli.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. I'll have a quick race in my racing car and then I'll round out if the conversation doesn't go anywhere in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, no worries. Have a good weekend.
I'm not rounding out now. That's my hope that people will start chit-chatting.
Well, remember, back in the day, we were still working things out. So there was always something being talked about, discussed, or hashed out. So, of course, now that we know what we know, it's going to be a struggle in the after show. That's how I look at it.
Let's talk about curry or Italian
Talk about
restaurant.
curry.
Well,
No,
flat
he
earth
said, of
pertaining.
course, it's
Oh,
the
this one
submarine.
time I had this fantastic chicken boona. It was amazing.
Oh, by the way, I did see the coming attractions for that movie that Surf Daddy was talking about. What is it? Sheep Detective?
Yeah, it's already out.
Yeah, I seen the advert for it. It looks pretty good.
It's got Hugh Jackman in it, right? It's got Wolverine.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil, did you listen to the grime version of Misfit Toys R Us 2.3? Grime version.
Oh, man, you're getting under his skin, boy.
I like the grime on some of the songs because it's just, it's, you know, like the scene that it's telling you, it's factual. It's coming away in that grime style. It's not messing about. We're not pussyfooting around. We're just telling you what's what, bro. You know, I get that feeling about it.
You like to hear some of the messages he sent at me? Or no?
Well, I'm not bothered. I'm just driving and listening. I've probably got about another 20 minutes before.
Hey, you're messing with the wrong guy. You ain't no scotch more than I'm a scotch. And you can't break my balls more than I could break yours. And we'll see who folds, General Jerkoff. It ain't breaking me.
Hey, guys, have a good weekend, everyone. See you next time, yeah? Cheers.
See you later, George.
What do you say, mate?
Said have a good weekend.
Later, Georgie.
Later, George. I'm getting that way now. Like, you know, I've got rid of these curry places that are not reliable, but I do fancy a curry, but I'm not going to, but I can't get to the place that I like. I'm not nowhere near it. It won't, they don't open all like these little cafe places. So, but I don't know what to do because I really want a curry.
How far away are you from your spot?
Well, I'm currently in Rochdale, which is about 30 minutes from where I live in a little place called Whitefield.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then the curry place is in Cheetham Hill. And by the time I get down there on Friday night traffic as well, it's always horrendous. So I won't make it. And plus, when I get there that late, they've probably come into the end of their day and there won't be much left, you know.
Mm.
So it's like, well, I don't know. But I just love a curry, man. I need a curry tonight. But I don't trust them places now, so I don't know what to do. I might just make one, you know. I've got onions in the fridge and I've got some spices in the cupboard.
Are you all set?
Yeah, I might just make one. I like making a curry. Yeah. Might just do that. Might just have to buy.
I thought that's what I was going to be able to break out for Skep. And he was like, I can't handle spicy food. I'm like, well, that knocks out the curry we planned on making for you. So we wound up just getting like some local freaking like Greek type restaurant. Because their food is pretty bland. What is it? Gyros and freaking pita bread. But they're really good, this place, the Tzatziki's. So we went and we got that instead. But my wife was ready to freaking really, you know, go all out and cook a nice meal for the guy.
Which spices you got, one deck? Make sure you got garam masala.
Garam masala?
Oh, yeah, Well, what I put in it is the turmeric, garam masala, and cumin.
Baronese.
And maybe
a few cloves.
Coriander as well.
Coriander. That's the only four I
got
use.
all of that stuff in my cupboard, but I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Got star anise.
Yeah, I think we have got some, but I only put them in now and again if I'm following a certain recipe. But they're the four that I just use. Sorry?
Cardamoms.
Yeah, I think I have to update my spices. But yeah, I've not made. I used to make a curry quite a lot, but I've not made one for a while. But I use the same methodology on every time I do it.
And timing is also key. When to put what masala and when to put the ginger garlic paste is key to a good curry. And it's so funny listening to Nathan say "buna" because that syllable "bhuna" does not exist in the English language. It is actually chicken "bhuna." But the way Nathan says it is "buna."
It's a buna.
It's "bhuna."
Buna.
We have Baltis, and for a long time, people in Birmingham would assume that Balti was just synonymous with curry, a type of curry. It just means bucket, because it's served in the pan that it's cooked in. So it's just got the nickname bucket.
Yeah. Neither is it a Balti, it is Balti.
Balti.
My Asian friend, which is, we said this the other day, my Pakistani friend, when she was first showing me how to make a curry, how she makes it for the family. I think I told you the story before, but one of the most important things, I was surprised at how many onions she was putting in and how much time she was taking breaking them onions down, where I'd only put maybe one onion in. She put 4 in and really, really, getting them reduced down. She said that makes a big difference. And the salt as well. She had different types of salt from all over the world, and that brings the flavour out. So as much as putting all that in, you get a nice salt in there as well. God, I'm making myself hungry here. What's going on? I'll have to shut up.
Yes, it'll be in this scenario, right? Exactly this. We're talking about making curry. We're just talking about food and ingredients and etc., right? It'll be under these circumstances that someone will come in to the Discord server and start asking us about boats falling over horizons, asking us where the edge is. I started writing them down because I thought I'll forget these. So if anybody comes up with these, right, I'm going to get together a bingo card and start rattling off specific questions that get asked by novice anti-flat earthers. Yeah, someone who comes to the subject and goes, well, if you say that the sky's not a vacuum, what about gravity? You've heard it once, you've heard it 1,000 times. Response from some dickhead. Yeah, I'm going to start writing them down as I come across them. And then when I'm out, you mark my words, this will happen. Yeah? I'll go out, I'll go on Random Joe's channel, talk about Flat Earth for a bit, try and plug my book, come back, and obviously in the process, they'll find out there's an open door here. They'll come into the Discord server, they'll get voice verified, and you'll hear it. You'll hear those words on your bingo card. And it'll be, who had? Where's the edge? Who had it? Who's got that on their bingo card?
Should get Eli said, we should run a little bot in the background, just come as a global bot who just asks random questions like that while we're talking about curry and ingredients, and it just pops up with stupid questions that they ask, and then we could at least it'll just take us out the recipe mode for a moment, get back into the subject, and then come back out, and then maybe 20 minutes later they might ask another one. Obviously, we won't argue with it for 3 hours like Jin did, but that'd just be a bit of fun. I don't know how you do that with these bots.
I don't know about doing it with bots. Like I say, we will get normally people that have been enticed into the Discord server from hearing it be described as measured flat moving forward. Like I say...
Does your mother never tell you not to talk to strangers? This talking to AI. It's just like talking to strangers. You can't do it.
Oh yeah, I've just seen Eli give. I don't know if you was there, Click. Eli give an example of Jin over in politics, and he didn't know he was talking to a bot, and he was arguing and for 2 hours, and everyone was trying to tell him and sending messages, and they put the same one on again with the same thing, and he still had a big conversation with it. So it's just funny. Don't know if you heard that story, but that was it basically.
No, I missed that. As I say, I with Jin, yeah, he probably would have enjoyed that. And then AI would have said, yes, Jin, you're right. You know, I'm sorry. You got it right.
Well, no, they've got a little dial on them now, on these AI models that pretend to be people to argue with flirfs. It's called the dickometer. How big a dick do you want it to be today? Do you want it to full-on interrupt you with something that you've already covered? That's 10. You want it to actually tolerantly listen and then respond with something fairly benign? That's a 1. You just have to decide on the dickometer where you want the ball believer to be.
I think that's what Eli might when DJ turned it up to the difficulty level. Same thing, I think. Yeah.
He exposed Jin to an 11, eh?
No, well, Jen did go to an 11, but the AI went to 11. It started to sound more and more realistic.
Scraping.
It went full globetard.
I bet Jim was in his element, wasn't he?
It's scraping the data, right? When you think about it, in terms of how the arguments can be represented, it will have probably scraped data from YouTube videos, which means that there's a good chance that the AI model has, in some small way, been modelled on flat Earth debate. Literally, that's what's produced the baller. Where else can it get the data from? It is just garbage in, garbage out. Ergo, the abilities of the AI model should match the abilities of your average globe skank.
Yeah, it'd just be taking things from Triangles McKeegan, won't it? And, Simon Dan and them type of jerks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AI will be offering somebody further down the line plausible deniability when things that have been alluded to that are false are exposed as being untrue. There'll be a position of power that exploits it wasn't me, it must have been the AI. As soon as AI came out, it was being seeded as the best thing in the world and then immediately decried as being full of mistakes. You're like, okay. So this is clearly being positioned as a scapegoat. A catch-all scapegoat. Goes wrong? Well, must have been AI. To the point where it'll get good enough so that somebody will do something criminal and they'll just say, well, that must have been a deep fake that did that. I didn't do that. What do you mean I'm on the cameras? Nah, that's someone else. Someone's deep fake that. What I wonder is how long these AI models have been running. Is surreptitiously the right word? Without our awareness. I can't remember what the test is called, like the Turing test or something like that, where whether or not somebody's interacting with a computer can be discerned by the person or not is a sort of acid test. But I would imagine that to refine these models, you'd have had to do a lot of, let's call it, acid testing on unbeknownst suspects, unbeknowing or unwitting victims, let's call them. Just the average Joe Normie who's interacting with a comment section or a YouTube live stream chat or a website or a forum. You know what I mean? How many times have you come across these models but you weren't aware? You know, you got a phone call from some person that's trying to sell you a product, and you're interacting with them and answering questions, not realizing that you're actually being tested to see if you'll fall for the fakery.
Yeah, good thought, mate. Yeah. Well, Jim failed. But that is interesting, yeah. Has it been going on in the background in other, you know, because a lot of it, even job interviews, because some job interview processes include maybe a phone call in the first instance, and then you might go for a second and a third interview. So they could be using it like that, you know, for job interviews. Things, yeah, you could be right there, mate.
But then I said, well, we're duped on just a different level, because for Jin to waste his time pouring his efforts for 3 hours into a robot made no sense. And I thought, us pouring our efforts into Jesse Path of Light for 3 hours makes no sense.
I was just going to say
the fact that the same characters have been around for 10 years and can still come into the room and take the attention of the room and have a conversation with the room like we haven't had hundreds of conversations by now. We're kind of retarded.
It is, I was right, it is. It's called a Turing test. Introduced by Alan Turing in his paper in 1950, Computing Machinery and Intelligence. A human evaluator engages in a text-based conversation with another human and machine. If the evaluator cannot reliably tell which is the machine, passes. So the original name is the Imitation Game. That was what he called it, but it's basically now known as the Turing test. Turing. Fucking hell.
He's a Mancunian. Is he from Manchester?
Bloody Mancunians interrupt me to find out if he's a fellow Manc.
I'm sure he's a Manc.
I think he's actually a Liverpudlian.
Yeah. But just going back to Eli, though, you're correct, mate, and that's what Nathan's saying, and you've been saying it as well, probably for a while. Yeah, why are we wasting our times on these dweebs? You know, like you just said, Jin's wasted 3 hours on somebody like Ruhith or Zanuck.
Because Jin's an asshole.
There's a new version. Let me just get this last bit out. Sorry. The latest incarnation of the Turing test is called, get this, the reverse Turing test. This is a scenario where AI attempts to determine if its conversational partner is human or not. In other words, you get ChatGPT to talk to Copilot and ChatGPT to talk to a real person. And during the interactions, you ask ChatGPT, are you interacting with a person or an AI? And it has to determine if ChatGPT is talking to Copilot or if it's talking to a real person. That's a reverse Turing test. Isn't that nuts?
Wow. Yeah. Crazy. Interesting, though.
Furthermore, this is the last one. Most people will be aware of the CAPTCHA test. CAPTCHA. You ever heard of that? When you're asked about whether or not you're looking at motorbikes or buses or where are the traffic lights? You ever seen that? That's an acronym for Completely Automated Public Turing Test to tell computers and humans apart.
Yeah. You've been doing that for a while, haven't you, though, when you get, are you a robot?
Well, its assessment is people think, oh, well, all I do is tick a box. How can that determine whether or not I'm a robot or not? And it's actually not whether or not you can tick the box. It's assessing how the mouse moves. So when a person grabs hold of a mouse, it'll sort of move around a couple of pixels, and then you'll take a route to the tick box, and then you'll click your mouse to put a check in the box. Well, that entire process is accessible. So a computer will generally take the most direct path. It's not going to randomly wiggle the mouse around and then take a kind of curvy path that's not exactly straight. It's not the most efficient route to the box. And then there's a couple of moment's pause before you actually click the mouse. All of those things are accessible for the human nature that is just moving your mouse on a screen. But people think, well, how can this possibly tell? I'm just checking a box. Like, you're not. You're doing quite a lot before you get to check the box.
So it's looking at your emotions as sort of giving away the way you're thinking and coming to a decision, where the other maybe AI just automatically goes for it in one go.
Yeah. But they've also hijacked it. So a lot of the tests are actually training AI models on what is and isn't lights in pictures. So they take like screen grabs from security cameras and traffic light intersections and things like that. And they're asking you to correctly identify what a traffic light is, because you're actually training an AI model to recognize what lights are. So things like your automated cars and driving protocols are based on the assessment that this person or this group of people have always identified this pixel in this little box as being a traffic light that's on red. Yeah, so it trains the model. You're training the AI model. It's back to garbage in, garbage out. How does it know that it's a set of traffic lights if it's a computer program and it doesn't know what fucking light is? Well, you've told it when you've trained it in things like Captcha, when you're telling, yes, this is a bicycle. You're like, why does it keep asking me what a freaking bicycle is? Well, it's often the case that you're actually training automatic driving models with your assessment of what a light or a bus or a bicycle is, because they help those driving models be more aware of not hitting bicycles and things like
that. Wow, yeah. All interesting stuff.
So let's throw a monkey wrench in there and flip it all around.
Well, that's what Skynet are planning on doing.
Yeah, so we'll just put down, instead of traffic lights, if every human would just put down a curb as a traffic light. Let's see how they get on then.
It'd be interesting if the other questions was, put a tick next to the curved line, the horizontal line, and the triangle. I mean, I wonder if the anti-flat earthers would, if they were doing this to move on to like a movie station or a game station, I'm sure they would, if they was asked for the curved shape, the arc of the arc, not the straight line, which is what they argue when they're in here. But in reality, they'd have to pick the correct one. So I don't know how that works.
Just out of interest, Eli, did the AI start calling Gin a retard and things?
Well, they might have done, though, because that's what they do, isn't it?
Well, if there was a training session for AI when he was in here, then it would call him a lot worse than that.
Well, maybe we should, because now with the new latest, where we're up to with this situation now, not being an argument and not having that argument like the old, with Ruhip and Zanuck, how would this AI cope with Nathan now?
He'd send out a Terminator and whack him.
Well, it's just been the same. We've all done it on the keyboard, haven't we? I did it with AI with Eratosthenes for 3 days. I eventually got it to, I had him down on bended knees, and he admitted I was correct and everything. But like Temph has done with his presentations, we've all been there. It'll be the same with the AI voice bots. You have to go through all that crap just to get to your point in the end. But we know how it works.
Yeah, I did that with the porno AI. I very quickly got it on its knees.
Yeah. Down on your knees. on the bended knees. I got that statement in the Toys R Us Land of Misfit Toys 2.3, but I got that from a song. I can't think of the song title, but I don't know if you ever heard a group called The. Yeah. The.
Hey, one
Really
second. Eli, if you're still there, I sent you something in Discord, right? Message. You click on that, and it's a lot of information, but you just scroll up to the part about Enoch. You can read it all. I read it all. It's pretty cool how they break it down, but you get to the part about, not Enoch, Cain and Abel you were asking about. So it's in Discord if you want to check it out later.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
Having trouble with your brother, Eli?
Oh, wow.
Well, it always happens to me. I do call out. I go on call every 4 weeks. 3 weeks ago, it was really nice. I mean, it was a really nice weekend. It wasn't red hot, but it was like 23, 24 degrees in Manchester, northwest. And you think, oh, I'm on call. It's a not hot enough temperature to like cause all the refrigeration to get down on its bended knees and fail. That happens around 26, 27 degrees, which is going to be the temperature forecasted for next week. And guess who's on call? Me. Again, every time it's a nice weekend, it's on my call-out weekend. And you end up you just do nothing but work. We're getting called out, stupid calls. And
yeah, but that's nice.
Just like, oh.
I mean, you make it sound negative, but what you're saying is, in the nicest weather, your work forces you out and about, and you're on it in the nice weather. That sounds great. I mean, I get that you're dealing with problems, but that's your work, isn't it? But you're getting out and about during the nice weather.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. No, it's good. I agree with you, and I don't mind getting out, and I do enjoy my work, But what it is, they don't really. Well, hopefully they'll put something in place. They do it sometimes where if the temperature's above, I think it's above 25 degrees, they say, or they'll do they'll offer it out for a backup engineer. So they'll say one deck's on call this week because I'm on my own usually, covering a large area with a number of supermarkets. So, but they'll offer a backup engineer they'll give them a certain amount of money from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock, and I can pass him calls that with what I can't get to, or because you get double or triple the amount of calls, and so you a lot of your time's consumed in going on your iPad on the work app we have, filling in the details, contacting the store. So you're not just going to the job. You've got to dial. You can dial into the site and have a look at the system. I can dial into a fridge at Asda any Asda. If you've got an Asda near you, I can dial into it right now and tell you the fixture number of a fridge and look at the probes. I can look at the air on probe, the air off probe, the defrost probe, the evaporator in probe and the evaporator out probe, and what the superheat of the gas is coming back out to the compressor. And I can probably make a conclusion of what that problem might be looking at that information. So you can do all that. That takes up a lot of time. But yeah, you're right, Nathan. But it's just the fact that it's a lot busier, and you could be. I like to be out and about and have an easy day, getting easy overtime. I don't like hard overtime. Getting older now.
Underneath some sweaty, broken refrigerator where it's all hot and sticky.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, but always, if it's a nice weekend, just think, one deck's probably on call because it's a nice weekend. It usually just falls on my lap for some strange reason. So I'm going to make the most of this weekend. I believe this weekend, my granddaughter's 1 year old.
Oh,
One. I mean, how fast? I probably told you when.
Wait, your
she was born.
granddaughter's 1 year old. What day?
19th of May.
That's my wife's birthday.
Oh, there you go.
And mine is the 23rd of May. So she's going to be 1 and I'm going to be 61. Where did
So
60 years go, one deck?
I know, that's what I'm saying. So we're doing a little bit of celebrate. It's a birthday on the 19th. That year has just flown. I don't know where that time's gone. So we're going up to, there's a farm up not so far away. They've got like a little play area. They've got the farm animals you can do. There's like a tractor ride you can do. So my daughter's organised that. So we're going there on Sunday to do that. So that's something to look forward to. So I'm going to make the most of this weekend because I won't be enjoying myself next weekend. I'll just be working. But then again, it's overtime. It's a little bit of extra money which is needed and will come in handy. So I can't complain really. Why am I complaining? I'll never know. One year. Where's that year gone? Bloody hell. Say that when you look at even when you compare it.
I'm wondering where 60 went. You're wondering where 1 went?
Yeah. Well, my daughters have been saying to me, God, I can't believe. I said, well, look at you two. You're 30 and I think the other one's 33. I said,
It's a Mason? A Mason number?
Just got to drop that in there.
That was a wink at Nathan, wasn't it? The other Mason on board.
It was coded.
Coded 33s.
You do see a lot of 33s, though, don't you? In
Hoax
news
code.
articles.
Hoax code.
Was it? Hoax code.
So they say. I don't say that.
Well, if that's the case, then Jesus died at 33. He rose on the third day, right? He what else was 3, right?
Magic number.
3 days. 3 days in the tomb.
3 days, 3 nights in the grave, right? On the third day, he rose again, right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, 3. There's a bunch of 3s. So they probably just latched on that for that reason.
There used to be a song called 3 is the Magic Number. It still is.
33.
You're made up of body, soul, and spirit, right?
33 varieties of tomato in Heinz ketchup.
Really?
No, it's 57.
Oh, okay.
57. Is it 57? Yeah.
33.
Well, it would have been Heinz 56 sauce. They were trying to get Joe DiMaggio to baseball player for the Yankees in the 40s and 50s to endorse it because he had a hitting streak going. But he made it to 56 games and not 57. So therefore, it went under.
I mean, I'm not a conspirator or anything, but back in the COVID days, when they'd be giving you all the numbers of there was a lot of 33s in the articles, wasn't there? 33 people died, and it was 33 policemen had done this, and I remember reading at the time when it was sort of more conspiratorial then. thinking, God, what's all this 33 about? It looks like they're putting these numbers in there on purpose for some reason.
Yeah, but it's like anything else, right? You would never notice a Ford Pinto, right? Until you bought one. I don't know, it's Pinto, Ford, Chevy Pinto, whatever.
It's true with any
And
car.
then when you buy one, then you see them all over the place.
Yeah. There's no such thing as grey BMW 5 Series, and you think that it'll be a really unique colour. You go and buy one, and then as soon as you drive off the lot, one's holding you up that you need to give way to.
Yeah, I did it with prams for the grandchildren, actually, because we treat the girls to a pram for the babies, and I don't know why I'm talking about this, but it was just because I got into it. I didn't know all this. Oh, this pram can do this and that pram can do. It was like talking about going to a car showroom, deciding what pram you needed. So we bought them a pram each as our gift, and exactly what you just said, Neil. I started noticing these prams because I go in the park a lot with my dog, walking and just walking out and about, and I just started looking at all these prams and thinking, God, that's what I got. My daughter's that one of them prams, and it's got slightly different wheels or something like that. But yeah, I'd never even paid attention to a pram for years and years and years. Then all of a sudden, I'm noticing these prams. So yeah, what's that called?
Pram awareness.
That's funny.
But yeah, I don't think there's anything to it. The whole 33 thing, it's a very Russian vids thing. That said, I'm probably going to be reaching out to Russian vids. He'll probably get a press release, and I'll be like, "Can I come and promote my book on your show, please?" So I better not.
Yeah, but why? Neil's just mentioned it in the scripture. I mean, I don't know if you. What do you think about that, Neil? 33 and on the third day and 3 days. It's a coincidence.
Oh my God. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus Panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Hit me on PayPal, Patreon, all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.